Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 475th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I am Pizza Papa, the number one Wanda fanboy, Trasnell, and I'm joined by...
Kirklin 616.
I am the Adam Harcaster.
I am the Doctor Strange, Taylor Field.
Doctor is Strange. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a big, juicy review here. The first MCU movie of the year. The first one since No Way Home all the way back in December, so it's been a good minute. But if you like the MCU and you wonder, do you talk about it? Of course we do. We just finished up Moon Knight this week. And then next week, we're going to have a really good episode. We're going to be planning out the next 10 years of Marvel because Feige said he's on his little excursion. So we want to wait till after Moon Knight, after Strange. But we're going to be doing 6 projects a year, so 60 projects. I imagine this movie is going to factor into a lot because I think it has done a lot of things to point you into certain directions of the MCU. So we talk a lot about that. If you like Halo, maybe you'll like the show, but they're reviewing the show, so you got that going on. You got Obi-Wan coming up in a month. You got lots of big movies, TV shows, video games all around where you got a podcast every at least weekday and then sometimes weekends. We got tons of stuff popping off right now. Taylor Field, how can they find that all?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find it with your interconnection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and GeekVerse on our Facebook.
Yeah, everything is links below. Our podcast network, our podcast feeds. Almost all of them have like a separate feeds for side quests, the gaming things, the review feed, the news feed. And then if you really like what we do, head over on any of the free feeds. You can subscribe, leave a rate and review. But if you really like what we do and you want to support us, we'd really appreciate you supporting us on Patreon. Because not only does that support us, you get more content, you get ad-free episodes, early episodes, behind the scenes, schedules, and right now you get 3 exclusive shows on Patreon. That's where we're going to be doing that MCU one. So if you like what we do here, we'd really appreciate that. And if not, just follow us along those social media platforms. And because I guess it's May. It's not the start of the year, but I feel like we're getting into some of the bigger movie seasons. Summer season's coming up. Jurassic World's coming up, right, Taylor? You're excited,
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. But here we are. As usual, we're going to do our non-spoilers overall version first because I know people, you can join our Discord who are not seeing it till Saturday or Sunday, so you can check out and say, okay, what did we overall think about it? We'll give you a little break. We'll warn you, and we'll get into spoilers. This is one, obviously, you don't want to be spoiled on if you've not seen it. So let's go Taylor Field. What do you think about this movie?
Oh, man. This was just... start to finish, I was just trying to kind of get my bearings on what was going on, and it was just absolutely thrilling. There were so many times where I would look at Madison look at me, and we're just like, gasp. And it was great. I need to go see this movie again. That's all I can really share at this point, because there's just so much that we'll get into in spoilers. But the score was great. I really loved it. There were some key moments where the score really was reflected nicely in some moments, and yeah, it's just so many surprises that really make and do justice for a trailer, where trailers these days may show a little bit too much, but in this case, seeing the trailer, I feel like I still went into this movie not knowing anything really, and I'm happy about that because it was just full of surprises, left and right turns everywhere, and it really made me thoroughly enjoy the characters, new, old, whatever you want to say. I enjoyed everything that we got. So,
Dilmas.
Wow, yeah, I don't know how much to go into here with the spoiler territory, especially with what Taylor just said about where the trailers lead us. But holy shit, I fucking love this movie from start to finish. There wasn't even a second that I wasn't just totally in it. This is immediately shot up to very near the top of my MCU rankings that I got to think about. I haven't thought about those in a bit, but I'm going to have to remake that now that I've been catching up on stuff. But
sounds like that's a podcast episode because we got a few new things to rank. Because last time we did that was after Endgame, so I feel like we got a few new things to rank. We got a whole slate, so maybe we'll do that in the future,
I'm very down. Yeah, no, I agree with what Taylor said. The music, I'm excited to talk about why some of it stood out for me. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I will just say I love this. If you are an MCU fan, you should see it. It's hard. A lot of this stuff is going to get built up from storylines of other things, but I feel like there's a couple storylines that they at least explain enough that if you haven't caught up on everything, if you haven't seen WandaVision, I feel like they fill you in enough on the stuff you need to know. in a good way. And man, like this movie is like a clean 2 hours. It feels like more in terms of how much content is there, but not in the way that sometimes the pacing of like these longer MCU movies can just have some moments that make it drag out. So yeah, I love this movie. This is I'm just so happy with it.
Kirkland Patzer.
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie as well. It's funny. This is I saw it in 3D actually, and this was like I
Whoa.
thought it was a mistake initially because when I first tickets went live, it's like okay, I got my prime seating, just get my quick 4 tickets. Don't even know who I'm taking at that point, but I'm like I'll probably find 4 people to take. And then I think it was Travis like a month or so later. He's like, oh, looks like you got the 3D because I think you were checking on like the Atom app or something. You just could see like my showing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And then I didn't want to risk like canceling those and then not getting like prime seating or, you know, heaven forbid I get like a completely different showing or something. That would have been terrible. But so I saw it in 3D, and I can actually recommend it in 3D. It actually was really good. I was worried that there would just been too much. You know, if you've listened to our Morbius review, we were talking about like there's moments there's just like a cement mixer. You couldn't really like comprehend what was going. And I think maybe at the very beginning of the movie, maybe just like my eyes couldn't like adjust to the 3D initially, but then like as the movie was going on, I completely forgot I even had the glasses on, and it really just made me immersed in the film. So I can actually recommend it in 3D, which is a rare thing to say. I would think. But getting back to the movie, I thought the score was phenomenal as Taylor laid out. Performances were phenomenal again, and yeah, it really felt like a feature film Marvel movie, which obviously is what you want for a Marvel movie, but it's also just so exciting to, you know, be back and watching Marvel. I know it hasn't been too long since the last movie, but still, it's always exciting to have Marvel Studios, like before the film comes up. Like I just get goosebumps now at this point. There's many moments in this movie that had me like goosebumps in tears. Like it was actually like a full ride for me, which I think it's kind of like an echelon of being like, okay, like the quality of the film is there if it actually, you know, checks all those marks for me personally. So highly recommend it. Yeah. Excited to dive into spoilers.
Yeah, no, I don't hate saying this. I wish I could play the contrarian and come in and be like, oh, you know, I don't know about this one. But no, I absolutely loved it too. I will state that I think I'm excited to talk about, I think there's some really messy stuff in this movie. And I think there's some real big kind of writing issues. I think the way I'd compare it to is Thor Ragnarok, where I like this movie a lot because, man, Raimi just got to go ham on this movie. He went nuts. You got just quick camera shots, like dazing things, like super cheesy one-liners. It feels very much like a kind of a collection of his films. So I really enjoyed that. And I was surprised. I know they kept talking about it's a horror movie. It's a horror movie. It legitimately did feel like a PG-13 horror movie. It felt like they kind of went as far as they could go. I'm not sure how that's going to do for the box office in the long run, because I don't think this is a movie where it's like, yeah, let's get the whole family together and stuff like that. And I said that before we didn't take Gwen because we thought it might be like that, and they really deliver. And luckily, there's so many times where things in the MCU come out and the reviews or people are like, oh, it's something like you've never seen the MCU before, and then you watch and you're kind of like, no, I've seen this in the MCU. Like, it's pretty par for the course. They do some different things, but really it's an MCU movie. This at times definitely has still the MCU DNA in it, but there are some things I'm just very surprised they did. Just even the whole third act, I was watching it the whole time just being, man, this is just crazy. This is the things that are happening right now. So I just loved it. It was a haunted house type of MCU movie. And the way I compare it to Thor Ragnarok is Thor Ragnarok to me, like the performances are great, the humor is great, but then some of the story and character decisions I thought were a little weaker. That's kind of this, but at the same time, there's something like a Winter Soldier where I would say, hey, like Winter Soldier I think is miles better than this movie. But if you ask me what would I rather watch, I would be picking this one, you know, and that's the thing where it just comes down to kind of favorite versus best. And because I like Raimi's films and I prefer horror, that's where I kind of lean. I think the thing I was looking forward to the most was Wanda, and she killed it. Elizabeth Olsen is just, I still think, like the MVP. I know we just talked about Oscar Isaac, but whether it's WandaVision or this, like I put her performances up there with any of the best performances in MCU. She just kills it. She just always feels like, again, not to put anyone else down, she just feels like above anybody else in like an acting category. And Cumberbatch is great. McAdams is great. The girl who plays America Chavez is great. Like, everyone's really good in this, but she's just always a step up. I think for me, and I'll get into spoilers, I think they took a lot of bold choices with her, but then also were really safe. And I think that's where the writing was the weakest for me, was the Wanda stuff. I think they were really kind of going back and forth with what they want that character to do. And then I think the end result was kind of, okay, kind of this is the best we could do. But overall, I had a really, really good time with this. This one I can't wait to see again. And fantastic. So let's say saying this is like Thor Ragnarok is the most disrespectful thing you could say ever for an MCU movie. That's okay, fanboy Clay. You just don't have, you don't have to. This is the same guy that didn't like the Batman, so we don't want to trust his opinion, Yeah. So other people in the chat said Joshua Wright, the movie was thrilling, had me on the edge of my seat and audibly gasping throughout. Greg, good to see you in the chat. Really enjoyed this one. Had a few raised eyebrow moments, but all together another good one. This was season 2 of WandaVision.
Very true.
And Derpy Gaming, you got a Cobra Kai season 5 trailer for Netflix. That's crazy. I've gotten a couple Amazon shows, but never a Netflix one. So that's cool. And Thor Ragnarok
I had Red Notice. That was the only Netflix trailer I've ever gotten, I think.
Oh, I thought you meant tonight. I'm like, they're previewing Red Notice right now. And Thor Ragnarok is a top 5 MCU, and it's getting me very excited. And that's 100% where I've already seen it in our Discord, where I guarantee you there's some people, and I was surprised, Emily really enjoyed it because she does not like the Raimi Spider-Man movies. So I think this is definitely going to be a film, though. What, Dylan?
Why?
Just she didn't like how cheesy they are. She just she just didn't like how cheesy they are. It just feels like they're kind of over the top. And she even thought that for this one, but I think there's going to be lots of people that if you're not a big horror fan, if you don't like some of the cheese or some of the humor, I could see this not working for you. So I think it will be like Ragnarok. Will be a bit more dividing and stuff like that. And I'll make more comparisons and spoilers. How, again, it's the best way to compare the one thing for non-spoilers is the way Loki, he had like a good guy turn in Ragnarok, but it wasn't that really fleshed out and well done. I think Wanda's is not as bad as that, but it feels similar where, okay, we got to certain points, but I feel like we're missing some steps along the way, or we went different paths. So I was a little let down with that overall.
I'm really excited to just talk to more, once more people have seen this movie, just get their thoughts on it, because I went with 3 other people, and 2 people that I went with just really didn't like it. They were like, it's not my movie. And then there's even a couple people like around, which again, it's just awesome to have like a packed theater and like just have that Marvel ambiance in the theater again. It's just something special. But there's many people around me that was like, I didn't really care for it, or maybe they had their hopes up and then we're kind of disappointed with that. I think that's very likely that people will have that, just because there was so much like, who's going to be in this? What other cameos are going to be? What other multiverses are going to go to? So obviously when you have expectations there, but yeah, no, I'm just curious what other people seeing, because as soon as I went on Twitter, I was already seeing like some people that I think I would expect them to like it. They seem to not really care for it. So it's going to be an interesting one going forward.
You brought up a good point where if you're listening on spoilers, there are cameos, there are great moments, but don't expect a cameo buffet. I didn't say expect like a nice sandwich, because I feel like the internet went crazy, lots of speculation. And to me, I think they delivered. I would have loved to live in a world where I didn't even know about any of this. And I think they would have even delivered more so. But even the moments, it was kind of like when Toby and Andrew are going to be in it, but you didn't know. But when they're on screen, you're like, holy fuck. That was like this. Like, it's, we'll save it for spoilers, but I don't think you got to. It was more about this Doctor Strange journey in movie than it was about like, let's just go to different multiverses and see people. And that would have been cool, but also that would have had really no story structure. And it would have just been like, that's something you do in like a fun animated special on Disney Plus. Like they could do a Multiverse Madness series. Like that's kind of what If is. And even What If has a story to it. There's always stories to these characters. So that's key. So anything you guys want to, I think obviously we all recommend it. The only people I wouldn't recommend it to if you're on the fringe is if you don't like Raimi or like horror films, but that's really about it,
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was more horror than I was expecting, but it's that Raimi vibes.
yeah.
Which was plastered all over this movie, and I personally think for all the good reasons, it was awesome.
Yeah, and it makes it stand out. Like me and Kirklin are the biggest fan of it, but I feel like you got that with Eternals, right? Where that's a Chloe Zhao movie. That's what she likes to do. But for us, it's like, okay, that's not really for us. And I can understand that with Raimi. So, all right, if we got nothing else, spoilers. So if you've not seen the movie, now's your time to check out. We will be right back after this, and we're going to do a deep dive, and there's lots to talk about. So we will be right back. And we're back. So, I want to start. Actually, I'll say that. S-Bubs, I saw your question. You left it earlier. I will answer that when we get to maybe the cameo section. But, I wanted to start with Wanda because I was leading off there, but I just wanted to go around the room. Taylor, what do you think about Wanda this go around? Obviously, huge in WandaVision. When we left her, she had lost vision, well, 2 visions. She lost her kids, everything, and she had the Darkhold and stuff like that. She took over the town, and here she was. So what did you think about Wanda in this one?
Yeah, it was a rough go for her in that series, but they
a rough
ended
go.
A rough go. They ended it with her, I thought, kind of redeeming herself a little bit for what she had done. And that's where I was kind of steering myself, and after watching the trailers thinking, okay, she is vindicated a little bit. She's going to be helping Doctor Strange, everything. I was baited hard by these trailers, and they worked their magic. Lo and behold, she was clearly not helping, and she was super sinister in this, and I loved every second of it. I think, again, we got to explore that with Oscar Isaac and playing the 2 different personas or personalities with Moon Knight. And now you have here these actors portraying, again, themselves, but different iterations of themselves. You just get to see different actors bring that to the table. And it's really, really shown with Elizabeth Olsen. It's just how she delivers with it, with Wanda. And I just found her to be absolutely terrifying. I loved how she just started to drift into this Agatha Harkness kind of vibe a little bit. It's even
her fingers.
Her fingertips, too. Yeah, she had them roasty toasty a little bit there. And it was just overall just fantastic. She was terrifying. So many scenes of her when she was either possessing the other Wanda or just notably for me when she was attacking them through the reflections, I guess.
Yeah, the puddles
water
and
puddles
stuff.
And then when she came out of the mirror, I was like, this is from The Exorcist, I'm pretty sure. This is absolutely terrifying. But legendary performance. She is just proven to be a great villain. And again, unless you see them die on screen, she could have teleported out of there. How do we really know?
She's
right?
not dead. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's hey, we haven't signed a new contract. Let's, in case she doesn't sign it, she'll be under this rubble. But I don't look
she
at
even
all.
did something after that crashed in on her.
Yes.
She destroyed the other book, so
Yeah.
we know she's out there and she's doing well. We don't know what
Yeah.
exactly happened with her, but clearly she's fine.
It's like you're telling me everything that happened in this movie, she can't go through some rubble. There's no way that's taking her down. If you don't see a body, never believe it. And even if you do see a body, how many times have we seen Loki die? And I know we'll get to it. How many times have we seen Professor Xavier die? Just because you're dead, that doesn't mean shit in comic movies. You can come back at any point, given some stone or a multiverse loop or something. So
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I just want to go because Taylor's more positive because I don't know where these two are. I think they're more positive. But all I want to say is that, so I understand that the main point they got to was, okay, she was doing all this because she was kind of possessed. They're kind of going through the Ring almost in a way, not, the Grudge Ring, stuff like that, like Film Fellowship, The Ring, Two Towers, greatest trilogy of all time, Return of the King. They're doing this thing where, okay, they're kind of okay, what's her motives? And then it reveals it's the book, right? And I think that's where, they went, I think, back and forth too much in the movie of I think they tried to bake the cake and eat it too, where they want her to be the villain. They want her to have this personal motivation, but then they also want her to be kind of brainwashed. And I think they did it poorly. And then I won't say poorly, I just think middling, I'll say. And then I clearly understand that, okay, throughout the whole movie, the book was taking her over. I'm just less invested in that. I wish they found a way that we talked about a few weeks ago with how Iron Man was the villain in Civil War, but he always thought he was right. I think they maybe just went too hard with Wanda. I think there's the same way you could have told the story where she was after America Chavez, trying to do things, but not having to decapitate a bunch of the sorcerers, not having to kill a bunch of innocent people. Because then once you do that, you have to chalk it up to, well, she was brainwashed. And to me, I lose some of the investment of the villain storyline that way. Even though Olsen, I think, sells it so well that I believe it. That was kind of my disappointment that, one, it ended up just being, it's a Darkhold, it made her mad, okay. And two, I just don't think they made a fine enough line. Like I was talking about in The Ring, one of my favorite characters in Lord of the Rings is Boromir, and you can see he's a good man, he's a good heart, but he has some doubts, right? When he's around that ring, it twists him, but the second he's gone from that ring, he kind of snaps out of it. I don't think they made a good enough line of, okay, what is Wanda actually feeling and what is the Darkhold doing? Because she's constantly saying things that I feel Wanda would say about Strange being a hero and a hypocrite and wanting the kids. I did also find it odd, like Family Clay, the only right thing he's probably going to say tonight, that she all just wanted the kids, nothing about Vision. Like Vision was in none of these multiverses. Like, okay, so Paul Bettany wasn't around, hey? But so overall, like I said, I don't think it was bad. It felt kind of like Hawkeye and Avengers when, oh, he's just brainwashed. Okay, and she wasn't to that extent, but I wanted a little bit more. So I thought that was just messy, even though Olsen just ate up the role and destroyed it, and great chemistry with everybody. And I was like applauding. I was like, man, this is bold. She's just killing people left, right. And then we kind of got what we got. So Dilmus, what do you think about Wanda this go around?
Well, I have a very quick question. That last moment where they're talking to each other and like the good Wanda says something to the dark, like, I don't know, the sound mixing in this movie was great. I could not hear that one line, and I was so sad because it's like, whatever it is, it's such an impactful line. I'm sure she says like one sentence to her. What does she say?
No,
to
they'll
her?
be loved.
Yeah.
No, they'll be loved.
The
Okay.
kids, yeah. I'm thinking she's talking about the demons on his back.
Just talking about Vision.
Yeah, I just could not
Yes.
hear that line for whatever reason. It kind of sucked. No, I mean, I've been a Wanda fan since before she was even like a well-written character in these movies. Like, I've just always been a big fan. And she's just steadily increased in terms of like the acting, but also I think just the direction of the character and what they want from her and her depth and all that. So yeah, I loved it. Like, I didn't have those same issues as you do. And to me, what I like about it is that there isn't like this, it's not like a light switch where they turn on the light switch of the book having all like her control of her, and then when you turn it off, she's like, oh, what happened? Like, I did anything wrong? Go like she's conscious the whole time, and I feel like it's not that she's changing into a different person. It's just that she herself is changing, and obviously, you know, it's not completely of her doing, but like she's gone through a lot of traumatic shit that would mess anyone up in a regular way. And it's just kind of, this book just kind of compounds that. And that's why I think she's so compelling, because we want to root for her, but still, like, she's done a lot of terrible shit, and she continues to all the time. Like, once again, I just can't wait to see where she ends up next, the next time we see her, which I don't know, could be a while. And so who knows what will pass in that time. But yeah, to me, like, the motivations all work, and I don't feel like obviously the consequences of what she does here are going to be felt, you know, in the future. It's not just like, oh, she was possessed, so we'll just forgive it. Like, obviously there's still going to be repercussions for that in the future. Yeah, I would hope, you know, that could change, but I don't know. I just don't see how they could possibly just skip over all the terrible shit that she did, which is just cranked it up like 10 decibels over whatever she was at in WandaVision, what she did there.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But one, I want to rewatch it because I want to take it in because I was trying to, you know, figure it out. And two, this definitely will go down to the follow up, because that was one of my least favorite things in WandaVision is she takes over this town, and then at the end, Monica's like, they'll never know what you gave up for them. It's like she didn't give up any. Like, she gave up these fake kids in Vision, but you kidnapped these people. You took them away from their family. Like, and I felt like they were trying to do that again at the end when, you know, Christine's like, she destroyed all the Darkholds. She did all the right things, and Christine's like, yeah, she did the right thing. And I thought they're already trying to do that hero twist, and that's my hope is that, to me, the follow-up will kind of be key to this. And also, hey, we've been there before. We talked about Force Awakens. Oh, let's see what the follow-up is. So I trust MCU more than Star Wars, but I hope that when we meet her next, it's not, man, the Avengers are back together and she's all the team. And it's just, my worry is that they just chalk it up to the Darkhold. They'll just be like, oh, the book made her do that. And that's my big concern. But I hope they won't. And the only thing I will say, go ahead.
You're concerned about the book pushing her to do that? Because I thought that was the general gist of it.
No, I'm concerned that they just, there's no accountability for, like, let's say the new Avengers 5 happens, right? And it's on, she's on the roster, and they don't really talk about, like, she took out even whatever, like Dylan's saying, if it's a mixture, that's still part of her there. So she still was willingly killed dozens of sorcerers, and that's why I almost wish they pulled back. I think she could have injured them. I think if she would have been, I'm just going to kill America Chavez, that's it would have felt a little better. Maybe that's it at the beginning too. They almost went too hard on the evilness for me that we've talked about so many times, right? Today with Darth Vader, where it's like, sure, he saves his son, but why does he get to go to space heaven? Doesn't make sense. And I feel like this movie kind of got Wanda to that point where I don't know if you can fully come back. I hope, here's another Taylor reference, they pull a Captain Barbossa where whatever the threat is, they have to work with her. They don't really want to, but they have to. But if she's just back on the team and everyone's kind of like, oh yeah, like, we get it, you had a bad time. I think between Westview and this, it's too much. So the fault will be key. Yeah. And my last point is I'll shout out where Greg said he hates when the villain gets talked down. I actually loved that moment of, to me, it wasn't talking it down. It was America Chavez. I love that because when she powers up and she's beating Wanda, I'm like, man, they're gonna have Chavez just beat her up. This is gonna fucking suck.
Yeah.
It's remind me of Force Awakens again when Rey just bodied Kylo, and we're like, oh, that wasn't a fight. But she realizes, hey, I can't beat her physically, but mentally I can. I loved her showing the kids her and finally clicking like, oh man, these kids think I'm a monster. And she says she wouldn't hurt anybody, even though she spent the whole movie killing, I don't know, a 30+ body count. So I actually liked the result of how they turned Wanda.
That would have been an awful conclusion if just who we've seen is like the most powerful being of all time gets beat by this person who like just 5 seconds ago discovered how to actually use their powers. That would have been awful. What else did I wanted?
And no, one last thing on this. I'll disagree with you again, Greg, where you say like there's been no consequences. That was all Civil War. Civil War, she blew up some people, and the first movie, Ultron, kind of gray area. But now I think it stacks up where there is like a few events. So I hope it will happen. And like Dylan said earlier, I don't know when
Civil War. Did she really do like a bad?
No,
like,
she was trying to control her powers too, right?
But
she
even
didn't
then,
master it.
yeah, she didn't master. But even then, there was consequences for it, right?
Yeah.
That started the whole Accords, where it's like that broke up the
yeah.
Avengers. So I'd push back on there are no consequences there. So
I loved the horror element. Like she was scary one in that. Just the raw power of her as like a villain in the MCU, just in general, like holy shit, just so the power level is insane. But then also like from the horror perspective, I got a little laugh when she was like walking through like some glass at one point, and then she started limping. It just made me think of Moon Knight and our dear friend Harrow over there with his
he's
his glass
mastered that
shoes.
skill.
Yeah,
but yeah, I thought it was like just well done from start to finish. I agree with you. Some of the dialogue in terms of like Christine's dialogue and some other one-liners were a little bit on the cheesy side, and definitely there was a couple of those in relation to like directly what she was doing. But yeah, I don't know. Kirklin, you can go ahead. I'm trying to think if there's other points I had on her.
Yeah, with Wanda, you guys brought up some really good points. Just in regards to the ending, I'm really happy that it was handled that way because are you gonna have someone equal powers of her just like have this really epic, large scale battle that we've seen so many times before? It's like it makes so much more sense to actually have it like her against it. It's not even like her against really anyone at that point. It's just her against herself, and like that feeling that her kids or like the view that her kids are seeing her on, like just seeing her as the monster, like that's really what defeated her, and that was really, really well done. I definitely agree with some points you're bringing up, Travis, on just like certain motivations on her. It just seemed a little weird, and I feel like any moment that they were trying to like just put all of the villain on the Darkhold, like not actually on this character, I was still able to kind of just think like, okay, well, it's not her against the Darkhold. At the end of the day, it's like her against the Scarlet Witch, because like she can get rid of the Darkhold, but she can't get rid of the Scarlet Witch. I don't think. I think that's going to be something that always sticks with her, and hopefully, if and when we do see her again, like that'll be the consequence there, like almost like a Dark Phoenix thing with in the X-Men. So. Yeah, I again, she was just chewing up the scene. Like I absolutely was just totally engaged with her. I think I really just was eating into like her story as just being the villain. She was very scary at moments. You guys were shouting out some particular scenes that was terrifying, and yeah, that moment she was like just like cutting up her feet of the other Wanda that she was dreamwalking in, and like just damaging this poor lady's like body just to like attain her goal, and she's just like totally limping after them and just like getting closer and closer on their heels. Like that was just stressful. I was like sweating in those moments.
Yeah, Joshua White said the same thing when she was chasing them all down the hall. That was those shots of Wanda like peeking out. There was one moment where her eyes were red. She looked like she was just ripped out of Evil Dead. She looked exactly, and man, like she like there's been many scary MCU villains, but that was like 15 minutes. It's like she's like the top of the top, right? Like I don't want to mess with her. I'll take Thanos, please. Like I don't want to go against Wanda. Don't make me do this.
Especially because like while I'm seeing her on screen, I'm just like, oh, this is still like the good Wanda that I've like really loved in like Avengers and throughout WandaVision. So I'm like, what are you doing, Wanda? Don't be evil here. But oh no, I completely killed my train of thought there. I had somewhere I was going with her.
Well, and I think the other
but
part that's going to be interesting about the Discord is I think there's going to be tons of people who don't like her. Like, because the movie, like Taylor's talking about, oh, she's good. And they reveal she's the bad guy very quickly, within 5 minutes. And I love that of like, oh, you didn't say her name, did you? I love that little twist, like Strange caught it. But For me, I've always been on the side that I thought that whether she's an antagonist or villain, the story has been leading this way, so I signed with it. But
yeah.
that's where I think it is bold, and obviously that's where if they just blame the Darkhold, like we were talking about Kirkland, it's like then it's a little less stakes. But I thought it was a bold choice. Be like, no, she's the antagonist of this movie, and that's something that happens in comics all the time. Like even someone like Magneto, who's a bad guy, becomes a good guy. So the fact that this is our very first, we've had like Turmoil before, but to me this is the first villain or like hero that kind of gets to a full antagonist. I think that's big, and there's always a redemption story, right? You can always do that. That's always a tale as old as time. But I know some people might go, oh, I don't want that. I've seen the angle, and if you feel this way, that's completely fine, where it's like the one woman left on the Avengers, you got to twist her to be like the bad person, and I could get that angle. For me as the straight white male, I guess it just worked for, they've just given her so much trauma and she's just trying to fix it. And again, it also, I think, makes her a little bit special because she gets a highlight. Like whenever, how long the MCU goes, she's always going to look at that first one that kind of turned a little bit and stuff. And she's an interesting character now because you never know when we see her next. Who knows what her mindset's going to be? Because again, she killed all these people. So that has to weigh on her, I imagine. Where WandaVision was, okay, you kidnapped these people. It was fucked up, but you still didn't kill any of them. This is, you took multiple lives. You massacred where Strange lives. You know,
Pretty
it's
brutal.
Yeah.
I think I want to bring that up too. That we're talking, like, that's the weird thing about the MCU is that there's never a definitive ending to anything. Even Endgame had another movie that came out like 3 months afterwards that continued the story. So it's weird. Like, but if we just in isolation look at this movie, and well, obviously you can't just look at it in isolation. You got to look at everything that built up to this point. But I think if this is the last time we see her, which I hope not, I think for me it works. You know, I'm gonna be sad
100%.
about that, to realize that. But to go to this moment and if her final moment is like, okay, I'm gonna use the rest of my power to destroy all of these. What is the evil book called again?
The Darkhold.
The Darkhold. Use the rest of my power to destroy the Darkhold, and then maybe even just destroy herself because she knows that she's either tempted or maybe the Darkhold still exists within her to some extent. Like, to me, that's a good conclusive ending. But then whatever that potential redemption story is down the line, I can't wait to see how they do that. But at least if we just look at like what happened here, I love it. And to me, it isn't that cliffhanger of like, man, it sucks that we're gonna have to wait 2 years before we find out what happens with her next. Like, I'm happy to sit on this. I think they left it in a good spot.
I'm 100% your camp. It's the Hannibal TV show method where you end every finale where it could be the last one, but you could also tell more. So it's the same thing of tomorrow, Elizabeth Olsen said, you know what, I've had a great time, but I want to move on. I'd be like, this is a fine ending with like her realizing she's so bad she has to take out herself. I'd be completely fine if we never saw her again. And I'm not saying that because like Dylan said, I want to see more between the character and the actress. But if we never did, fine, that's great. She self-sacrificed. That's a redemption. And she helped get rid of some Darkholds before she left. Boom. And even then we could go like 3 or 4 or 5 years before we see her again because she could just be, you know, I don't like some realm, like she's written off in I think a really suitable way instead of somebody just, you know, kind of missing and you're like, okay, well, you know, they're gonna pop up. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think what adds to the fact that like if we never see her again, I will be okay with that, is like that ending on how great it was. It wasn't she was just beaten by a bigger and stronger opponent, like it and just see her to get decapitated or something, because I feel like that would have just had so much like uproar of just seeing like her corpse there on the ground. Just like, really, they did my girl like that. But no, it was really, really touching, really emotional, and it just, there were like, whether it was the beginning like opening sequence of her and like her with the kids in Westview, dude, like that like shook me all the way down my spine. Like that was like bone chilling. How it was just like so happy. I think it had like the WandaVision like theme song in the background. WandaVision.
Yeah, it was in the
like,
credits. Yeah,
and then it instantly just stops, and then it's just like white, no noise, and just see like her like where she is in that mind state. Like, yeah, this was such a phenomenal just journey for a character, and definitely a great like addition to WandaVision. Dylan mentioned it like in the. I don't know where you mentioned it, but you mentioned it how like I feel like they
tonight at some point
they skittered around the WandaVision stuff enough that like it's not mandatory to see it. But for me personally, like her whole being a villain in this movie, it makes it 100 times better watching like that show WandaVision. It just goes goes together so well, and definitely just boosted my feelings on this movie, I think. And I think that was another thing, because I know at least one of my friends that I saw it with hadn't seen WandaVision, so I'm curious if they'll feel differently after seeing it. I don't know if their issues were with the villain or just the overall writing, but
I feel like, yeah, they have some little throwaway lines like, she took over an entire town. Like, at some point, some character says that. Like, I feel like they just give you enough to have a little bit of context of where she came from.
And like, for me personally, like, okay, yeah, like, the story of that isn't that important, but, like, the emotions that she showed with, like, losing her kids and, like, just talking with Viz and, like, those back and forths, that is what I just take away from the show. That I do think it's really important, because now it's just, like, you can understand why his character is so much more than just a badass villain that looks really cool and is really strong, right?
I do have to point out there's one line that they ADR'd in at some point later on when it's in the field, and she's like, I knew you'd come get me about Westview and da 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 da. And in the trailer, he's like, I'm not here to talk about Westview. But in this movie, when she said the Westview thing, they cut to a shot of her, not him. And it's the most ADR of like, you did the right thing at the end, and we knew you would. And then he's like, I'm not here to talk about Westview. So like, again, like there's definitely, I think, some notes of like, hey, don't make her too bad. Like, we still definitely want to use her, but yeah, I'm interested to talk to people that haven't seen WandaVision, because I kind of felt the opposite of, if you go from Endgame to this and you're just like, she has kids, like I feel like kids take over a town and made them out of magic, and the Darkhold, that's a lot to take in. So I wonder how it would do, but yeah, I'll just have to ask more people, because honestly, all the people I know have seen them, and all I would say is that. And again, I said this when we reviewed it, but I also feel that episode of What If with Doctor Strange thoroughly enhanced this too, because I feel the first movie did not do a good version of the Steven and Christine dynamic, or What If just made me care so much about these two that, again,
I watched that over the weekend just to be ready. I was like, oh shit, I should watch that before going to this movie, I think.
It's good. It's so depressing in the score, but that just really helped. Where again, it's that MCU thing of like, it's a big TV show where you don't gotta watch everything, but it does help. And I think both those things really had some weight. And again, too, it's just great that they use plot, like the plot points of the kids is massive for this movie, for them as a business. Even that's the TV show. It shows you right there. These TV shows are not inconsequential. It's not, we're just doing this to get you subscribed. Of course, everyone is a business, but it still makes you feel rewarded. So that means, Loki, Moon Knight eventually, could be the same thing at some point. So,
yeah.
I had a quick question. So I've only watched WandaVision once. I don't know if it was a post-credit or just like the last shot of it where she's like in the field and she's like floating, right? And she has the Scarlet Witch costume. Yeah. Does she have the book in that scene?
Yeah, she's like sleeping, and then her astral form is reading the Darkhold. And that's
she's
when
making
you can
tea.
hear she's making tea. Is that
before
what she's
the
doing?
comments come for you? Yeah, because she's at the cottage and she looks like she's normal, but then when she walks past the room, in that room there's Wanda looking creepy as fuck.
Right.
Which
I
love.
I couldn't remember if the book was in that shot, but.
Yeah, it was, because then in Doctor Strange, they go back, that book's missing. They talk about that in the first movie, the Darkhold's missing, and somehow she got it. Which one of the most hardcore metal shit ever in this movie is the first time she was dream walking and she was floating and it's showing all like the multiverses, and the guitar's just like, it was like, this is like did not mesh with MCU in the best way. But I love just how creepy and like voodoo, like rific in a way. Anytime she was doing sorcery, or like, she felt creepy all the time. Every time they cut to her, it's like, man, she's a part of like a coven now. Like, this is fucking creepy,
Yeah, so something with Wanda that I feel has just like evolved so much in the right direction for me personally is like, her magic just seems like, maybe initially I'm like, okay, these movements, they just feel a little tacky, and like, again, like the actual spells that she's doing now are so much more epic and like larger scale and just so much more powerful. And then when you give that Raimi like little touch on it, they feel so scary. Like, it does feel like I'm watching a witch movie now, not just this mutant that's, I guess they're calling her the Scarlet Witch now. Like, she really, I feel like the theme around the Scarlet Witch is just really, like, they've just nailed it now. Like, they've had a few movies and an entire TV series to just get it down packed. I think it's just prime in this, and just that red aesthetic that was just like surrounding her throughout the whole movie. That like hell realm that they're in when she's first meeting with Doctor Strange. We had seen that in the trailer, but just to see it here, just like nothing's alive like out there. It's just death. You feel like you're in hell. was waiting for Mephisto to just walk around
Well,
the corner. and
yeah,
start
I was
talking
gonna
about
say-
it.
There was
I'm this
definitely
Mephisto guy. Why does this guy always have?
No,
to
there was definitely a Mephisto reference in this movie. I
was there?
saw it. I'm sure you guys saw it too.
I didn't.
When,
I don't know.
say
what
it now.
No, say no.
Remember when he goes to see, as again, Doctor Strange with the third eye, and he goes to the doors.
It's
of
not
the,
Doctor
the-
Strange, though, just so you know.
Doctor Strange is what I was
No,
calling
no,
that
no,
guy.
no. But it's not the What If Doctor Strange.
No. Yes,
Okay, I just
definitely not.
I just wasn't sure if you're clear of that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
When he approaches that
Mm-hmm.
sanctum, and then you see on the doors they open, you can see Mephisto, like the devil's head, like
Are you
on
sure?
both the doors.
I got the
Oh
stretch.
yeah, it was definitely the
I saw-
devil.
Don't start
I
this
saw
unless you're certain,
demons,
Taylor.
but
This is
I didn't. It
opening
didn't say
the door.
Mephisto on his forehead or anything like that.
Yeah, no, I thought
Mephisto tattooed.
fuck. No, it'd be devil. That would be that. But
Hashtag
no,
Mephisto.
like when we played the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and there's that level where you go to hell to save Jean or Nightcrawler. All that one stuff felt like that. Like that's what I like, and that's why I am excited for when we get to Mephisto. And I honestly thought that was going to be the reveal that it wasn't the book twisting her. It was going to be someone like Mephisto because that has happened in the comics before. He is just Marvel's devil and stuff like that. So. Yeah, all that stuff was good and creepy, and even the finale. Like I've been waiting to talk about the finale, but I think my favorite variant of any character is the fucking zombie Doctor Strange. Because talk about metal, talk about badass. This guy he's a zombie Doctor Strange sorcerer whose cape is made from dead demons. Like, oh
Souls of
my
the
god.
Damned.
Yeah,
So
when he was
cool.
flying with this is like this
Oh,
is the
yeah.
fucking coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. It was just and like in the finale, he's just talking to America Chavez as the zombie, and it's just dead serious. Like I can't stop her. And like it's so like it's just like perfect Raimiism. And again, that felt like Evil Dead 2 or when they come back alive.
Yeah.
But man, like that I don't buy those hot toys that are like those $1,000 toys that they make them like looks perfect and pristine. But if they made one of this, my
hovering
God.
with the cape and everything.
Ye-
that
the
would be
cape has
sick.
to be prime. Like, but it was, my God, so cool. I love Zombie Doctor Strange so much. And it was such a good reveal. And he's like, oh, yeah, like, doesn't mean they have to be alive. And like, the world's like, the lightning's going, it has like creepy music, like Thriller
Like
almost.
Frankenstein. It was
Yeah.
literally like Frankenstein. Yeah.
It's so cool. It's just so
Yeah,
cool.
when he buries that body, I'm like, this is definitely gonna come up again. But then, of course, like an hour passed, and I completely forgot about that. So it was still a good reveal. But yeah, I thought that was such a fun plot point.
Yeah. Let's take our other ad break, and then maybe we should talk about Doctor Strange himself. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Taylor Field, how did you feel about I was going to say Bennett Cumberbatch. How do you feel about Doctor Strange in this one? Obviously, it starts. He's seeing the love of his life get hitched. He meets America Chavez, and then he gets in a bunch of multiverse adventures. And the whole, I guess, his arc is kind of he's trying to figure out how to be happy, or he's not. He's lying to himself. That's the pretty much thing. He's lying to himself. So, what did you think about Benedict Cumberbatch in this one? This is his sixth outing in the MCU now.
Yeah, I again thoroughly enjoyed him portraying Doctor Strange in this iteration. One of the things that I wasn't expecting that I really enjoyed was something that we saw with specific other characters in the MCU, but this time around we have like that reoccurring doctor from the first Doctor Strange who was at the wedding, and just not only from him but other characters as well that were just pitching to him like, hey, you gave up the stone to Thanos,
you fucked
and
up,
this that was your decision. I lost 5 years of my life. My brother died. My cats died. All these like very human things that happened to people's lives and impacted them, and just the weight that kind of would sit on his shoulders for thinking he did the right thing. And again, why wouldn't he think he did the right thing? He went through over 1 million different alternatives, right, to how they could win. So I love that component, just adding on top of the cake of him being at this wedding of the love of his life and seeing Rachel McAdams just getting hitched with someone else. And that's rough. That's definitely rough. But
And makes the most like pathetic, like worst call speech ever. Like she just got married. She literally just said, "I do," and she walks off. He's like, "I've always loved you, and I'm always gonna love you." It's just like, and I thought that worked for the character being sad, but I was just like, man, this is not the time. Like you
hold
lost
that one in.
Yeah, even not even at the wedding. If it came up in natural conversation, but it's like he had to pull her aside, like, "Hey, by the way, I know you're married, but like, I fucking love you."
Yeah.
Like, I'm
She's like,
always
"Come
gonna
meet
love
my
you."
husband." He's like,
Literally,
"Actually, I love you."
And then she
Yeah.
did not take him after that. It's like maybe it was a bad idea. He's
Yeah.
gonna say something
well, he
stupid.
didn't say like "I love you." He just expressed like
No, he said he loved her.
in that scene. I don't remember him
He
saying
did say
"I
he loved
love
her.
you."
Yeah, yeah. He did. I swear he said he loved her.
I know he said it to the other Christine
can't
at the
remember
end,
now.
but
Yeah.
I just remember him expressing specific like reasons as to like, oh, why didn't we work out and stuff like that. Like I'm
Fair,
I'm
but still-
apologizing. So
Still not a time to do it. Do it at the
No.
mixer before, or do it a couple months after. Not at
when the priest says, "Does anyone object?" That's when you do it. But
I just
Yeah.
got one anecdote.
yeah.
Are you?
But
I
Doctor
don't think he
Strange?
handled it like a champ, though. Honestly, like he was able to hold together. He sat through the whole wedding. I feel like I wouldn't have been able to show up at first, and then when this other doctor is like, "Did you really do all the best you could do?" I'd be like, "Fuck off, buddy! I'm gonna throw you off this."
Well, he
fucking
was
balcony
kind of
right
like
now."
that, like fuck off. And then he's like, oh, I
He-
guess
he
you're
held back.
best doctor, best hero, but you didn't get the girl. That's when he just didn't. He didn't stand
Yeah,
up.
that's when I just fucking donned my cloak. and
I
throw
I
this guy
did
across the
want
room.
one shot of him talking to the husband and just to see like what he would say to him. But
Yeah.
we didn't need it, but I thought it would have been good.
Yeah.
He's a fan too, but
was
obviously
funny.
it's a one-way street on the fandom. There.
I think that again he played so many different iterations of Doctor Strange in this. It was crazy, and I'm glad that we got most of the trailer scenes pretty much in the first portion, I guess, of this movie. It felt like, like looking back at it.
Well, they
especially with
showed off Zombie Strange, but they in the marketing made it look like Zombie Strange was going to be the bad guy, because I thought, oh, for sure, that's a
Yeah.
final boss, and I love the twist that no, he's your hero you're rooting for at the end.
Yeah, that was just big surprise that I loved. But that first Doctor Strange who was betraying American Chavez was just like that caught me off guard. And then he comes along and saunters in with the one we're familiar with from 616, and then all of a sudden it just breaks off and we go ham and we just start trying to see other Stranges, and that leads into other scenes later on. But yeah, every one that he just plays was very, very well done and just suffered in their own way. And it was great to see our core Doctor Strange just kind of reaffirming and just how Benedict played this guy going and finding himself and going to get happy, I guess you could say, while trying to defend American Chavez. But again, there's not much more I can say aside from what you said, Travis. Just the zombie Strange was just absolutely like perfect, and I didn't know. I totally forgot, like you, Dylan, like what they were gonna do here, because when they're Christine was like, "Oh, you need like a body, another you in that dimension to take over," and I was thinking like, "Well, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?" And then yeah, sure enough, just doesn't have to be alive, and that whole scene of him moving around and like totally like his fingers all like bent back and like totally zombie, and the score was just kicked in, and it was such a long sequence of him like maneuvering and coming about to get to the peak of this mountain. It was so good, and this is one of my favorite scenes in this movie was just the buildup and the tension of this scene. And yeah, when Christine just goes to town and kills those fucking souls of the damned, and it was like,
Go back to
you're
hell.
Yeah, go back down. You're the master of the mystic arts, and like take them
so
or like
supportive.
own them. She was so supportive, and like as soon as like she like rooted for him, like own them, and his like eyes open, he stopped like seizuring out, and then yeah, he's just like, oh man, it was just so bewildering to see him like sucking them into his body, and just it was good.
Yeah, it's just shit that I was not expecting, you know, especially now. And that's what the best thing I think Phase 4 is, like, had some hits, had some misses, but they're being different, and that's a good thing. Like, they're doing more crazier stuff, and this was probably, I think my favorite Doctor Strange is still Infinity War with him and Tony, because he was just such a fucking asshole. But again, you even see the progression of that, where you remember he even drops that Defender Strange drops a very similar line that Infinity War Strange does, like, oh, this is the only way, and that's when he goes to kill America Chavez. But the other thing he does is, remember in Infinity War when it's him, Tony, and Peter, and he's like, I don't care if it's you or the kid, if you guys have to die, that's what I'm going to do. He, at the end of this movie, has the exact same situation with America Chavez, and she's like, and she's even more willing than Peter. She's like, I get it, you got to take my power, I'm ready to die. And he's like, no, that's not the way we're going to do it. So you can see, like, obviously it's very on the no symbolism, but at the beginning of the movie, he has the broken watch from Christine, right? What does he do at the end? He fixes it, and it shows that he's whole and he's trying to be a better person. And maybe, you know, he thinks he's right about the stone, and he saw those universes, and he probably is right, but still, it feels like he's going to try and find a way to be more careful with life, even if it does come down to this big decision. Can I find another route? And what did he do? He did the same thing Christine did to him. He talked her up. He said, no, control your powers. All these portals have been your doing. They took us to the right spots. Whatever Christine just did, he did to her. And man, I just love when he put the watch together. And this was what reminded me so much of Spider-Man. Sam Raimi is one of the best at just bringing the humanity out of a character. And when you see him doing the watch, getting ready for clothes, and he's just walking down the street, now we get that fucking jump scare. And I was like, oh my God. And we'll talk about that after. But just seeing Strange after this whole venture, just walking down the street like a regular dude, I was like, I've actually never been more invested in Strange in this moment right now, because I'm rooting for him, because they also have Christine kind of in a way set up that like, and also we got end credit for that, but like you got to move on. Like you can be happy with a person. You just have to allow yourself. So I thought the journey he went on was great. I love that moment where he stood on that memory thing and saw the thing with him and Christine in the past. And I like that first 20 minutes, there's monsters, Defender Strange, all this shit. But they took that moment when America Chavez and him got that first universe to like have 5 minutes, and they're just talking and walking. And I felt the movie, even though it was super quick, had moments where it would slow down and be very important, whether it was him or Wanda. So this is probably my favorite maybe iteration of Strange in the MCU. Then Infinity War was great because he was just such an asshole, and I love my Doctor Strange as an asshole, but yeah, he was great in this. And I love, his human stuff didn't last too long. I would like to very much see Sam Raimi do Doctor Strange 3 and continue that on. So like even him just dating, I'd love to see Doctor Strange like trying to date people for a segment, so
Yeah, pretty cool. I want to sneak a question in here. When it comes to taking American Chavez's powers, is this just something American Chavez?
It did feel like, I get it because it is a name in the Spanish community, but man, when he's just like, "Did you save America? America's safe."
America's
but it's not
coming to get us.
Yeah. It felt weird a little time. Like, oh, just call her Chavez. But
100%.
anyways, continue.
So when it comes to taking her power, is this something that Doctor Strange is capable of? Like, because Doctor Strange go to like Peter Parker and be like, I'm gonna take your Spider-Man powers and start web slinging. Like, is this a common theme?
I guess because they can like take and possess dead bodies, so I feel like they could really if they wanted to, but I don't know if, because America Chavez has like a similar sort of power, like she seems like she's more in the magical realm, even though she just has powers. So, but I could
He doesn't.
I could believe
what
it.
if? I guess he goes to that place first.
Yeah.
The library.
He sucks up all those people,
He
right? He
does
becomes the big
suck them
crab
up.
monster, so
Yeah.
he's a sucker.
Some hard.
Yeah.
He's a sucker.
Yeah. Dylan or Kirklin, anything on Mr. Strange you want to talk about?
Yeah, other than just kind of repeating what you guys said, I love just that initial like wedding sequence. He had like tears in his eyes, and Benedict was just totally selling the emotion that the also the love of his life. So is it selfish of him to, like, if it makes her less happy for her to be with him? And I feel like that was kind of like the inner battle that he was facing with. And I love that he was able to actually dialogue with the other Christine from Universe 868 or whatever that one was. Really great moments, because like initially you're expecting it to be like the same sort of Christine, like flirty, but like this one, it has had her Doctor Strange like dead for a long time now, and it's just like all business. Like, no, I don't even have time to talk with you. And then later on, kind of after the big battle, they just have that moment to talk, and she's like entertaining the idea of what it would be like to go with his universe. And part of me was like, oh my God, is this really gonna happen? Is he just gonna have like a happy life? They're just gonna get married with this Christine. They're just gonna make it work somehow, go live in the mountains somewhere so she never interacts with the other Christine.
They
That's
rent out
actually along
Wanda's
that universe.
cabin. Hey, you're not
Yeah.
using that anymore, are you?
And I just love that moment, because it's like, I think she says something like, "No, I'm really busy," and there's like a slight pause. It's just like, it would be fun though, and then it's just like, it's just a really good what if scenario of what could have been,
What if?
and it didn't happen.
Season
And
Yeah.
no, it's I feel like I've never liked Doctor Strange more than after this movie, and that's definitely what they should be doing with their character, because I feel like even the first Doctor Strange I wasn't the biggest fan of for whatever reason. I never saw it in theaters actually, so maybe that didn't help. Like, again, the 3D was really working for me, and like the CGI moments, like it didn't feel blurry at any moments. Like, I was really just loving the visuals of this movie. I think that's one of the biggest standouts of the movie at all, like as a whole, honestly. Like when Strange first sets that trap for Wanda, and it goes to like the mirror like hallway scene, and then she eventually figures it out and twists it to her advantage. But just the initial like visuals of that moment, I think that's something that makes the Doctor Strange movies like really really unique is that usage. And then now they have Sam Raimi directing, it's just got this like really unique horror vibe to it. I'm not sure if it'll have that for all the movies going forward, but I imagine there'll be something along the lines, because Doctor Strange World is creepy already. Like,
Oh yeah.
with Mads Mikkelsen's character and the dark stuff that they were going on in that first film, like it was pretty dark compared to what the other MCU was. This one was just turned up a whole nother level. But Doctor Strange was so awesome in it, and I did enjoy him being the asshole for like just filling the shoes of that asshole character. And again, like Travis, you mentioned, like he was totally willing to sacrifice Tony, the kid, Spider-Man, and now it's just seeing his progression. He's a very likable character now, I'd say. Objectively, I think it's just you do want to root for him. Like, he is making the right decisions now. He saved America Chavez, and yeah, really great stuff from Benedict in that role.
Yeah, of course I agree. Wanda, like I said, it was kind of like I was a big fan of her even before she was really that interesting of a character. And Doctor Strange for me as well. Like, I think when we did our rankings after Endgame, I had the first one, like, I don't think it was quite top 5, but maybe like 6th or 7th. Like, I like that movie more than most people do, just because I just love the powers. I love the character and the journey. And I definitely see what Kirklin was saying in terms of, like, even in that first movie, you know, it's still an origin story, and so we're gonna like have to deal with a lot of this stuff. And you do have he does evolve in that movie. He does change, but it's a different kind of thing. And you know, that movie came out 6 years ago now.
Yeah,
it's so
it's
long
crazy.
ago. And like since then, yeah, like Travis said, he's appeared 5 times since then, or I guess is this the 5th? So 4
This
times.
is the 6th.
Right. So yeah, that movie, and then
Yeah.
4 times since, and then I guess
Yeah.
What If is kind of in there
Right,
too in terms
yeah.
of seeing a different version of the character. But it's been a long time, and all of those other performances, I love all of the appearances, but they're all very one note in that he's just playing that asshole guy who's just like got to get some shit done. He doesn't have tons of
Yeah.
screen time, and like they're fun scenes, and I love all of it. But yeah, you're not going to get that emotional development that obviously you have the time for in the title movie for him. So I think it's crazy that it was 6 years ago that the first one came out, and I think it's due time to finally like really dig back into that character and see what else he's made of. And yeah, I'm not going to repeat what you guys said, but I just loved everything with him and the acting and all that. And I love the moment because Wong is a great character. You know, he doesn't have a movie, he doesn't have a What If episode, he doesn't have a TV show, but he's been in this stuff a lot, and he's great. And I love their friendship, and that moment at the end when he kind of he bows to him, you know, in that respect. But to me, that's also him like laying down his ego, which is kind of
Yes.
part of the journey that he's going on in this movie. And I think that was perfect. And I'm excited to talk about what the implications are of the him on the street at the very end, because I think that's the one part that I actually don't get. Like, I don't know exactly what's going on there. So I think maybe we should dig into that. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about the character, the different versions of him. Once again, he still has a little bit of that quippiness, but it's not over the top. I think the humor in this movie isn't overdone. There maybe are a couple points, but it really worked for me. They really stuck to the dark themes in general, and I think for him, who has been a very quippy character with his very like high intellect jokes and just talking over people, I don't think they overdo that here, and especially like with America, like that friendship, I think it is great, and obviously builds as she doesn't trust him for great reasons, but then does in the end for good reasons. So
Yeah, I'm glad.
To try and like trust the person that you've seen in another version, like
who's
just
like
murder you.
tied to kill you multiple
You gotta go. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad you shot the bow moment. I thought it was great because that harkened back to some of that. Like, I liked the first Doctor Strange. I think I liked it more as I've watched it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't in my top like 10 or 15. But I remember they kept trying to make that stupid Beyonce joke work, or like trying to get
Right.
Wong to laugh. And the movie ended with Wong laughing. I was like, oh, all right. But I love just the switcheroo where the whole movie, that is the running joke of like, you know, I'm not going to bow to you. When all these people come to the portal, all of them bow to Wong, and Strange just kind of like, yeah, whatever. But when he does bow to him, like, yeah, you can look at his joke, but no, for me, like you said, he's just like just releasing a little bit, like you said, letting the ego go, and again, it's showing growth. And I love that. I have to say, at the wedding, he looked fucking great in that suit too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've never dyed his hair blacker though. And I'm fine with that, but he's just looking just so dark. But he was looking good in that suit. He could pull that off. So, and I love when he
swear,
jumped off in the cape. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was I love that effect, and I love I feel like I just haven't really seen him much without the cape. I don't know if they gave him a new costume, but the blue outfit that he had, fuck, it looked gorgeous. But yeah, no, the the dynamic between him and Wong was absolutely phenomenal. Oh, actually, quickly, I was gonna say with his tie-dye hair, not tie-dye hair, but his dyed hair.
Yeah, tied to that. Fuck, that would have been a multiverse.
I could see the stain actually on his scalp, and it just kept taking me out of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so noticeable.
They went really hard in the black this go around. I don't know why. And honestly though, he looked more. There's so many times where, especially at that wedding times, he just looked like he was ripped from the comic books. But I'm just gonna laugh. Each movie, he's just getting more and more black and everything like that. But
but just getting back to quickly his dynamic with Wong, I absolutely loved it. I love that they're both just sticking around. I remember leading into this one, it's hey, is he gonna get his Sorcerer Supreme title back? I feel like the only way he's gonna get that is if Wong dies. I don't want Wong to die because I've really grown to like that character. And
look
they
bad
didn't sell it when he fell off the cliff. I was like,
no,
there's 0% chance that
he was so similar to Gandalf and the Balrog scene with that rope that he had against Wong had it, and
I was worried when Juan is you know what has to happen next, and he's I already know. I thought Juan was just gonna kill him right there. I thought it was being quick, and then when he went off the cliff, it was okay, no, he's not. He's fine. But man, he was on that cliff for a while though. He was on that cliff for half the movie. He's still just strange.
It's so funny that just very quickly anecdote from my movie theater experience. There's this one guy behind me. He absolutely loved this movie. I guarantee, a 20 out of 10, because he was belly laughing.
Oh
shaking the room. at the comic the
was Black
moments.
Bolt in your theater or
and
just kills everyone, but definitely he's enjoying the comedy moments, but then he would be laughing at the most ridiculous scenes, when America Chavez's moms, when they get sucked into in the portal, it's an emotional moment. He's like,
this is the guy from Travis's theater experience.
And it's not even he's fake laughing. He's generally belly laughing, and he did that in so many other moments, with the souls of the damned, when they were attacking Christine, and it's just a shot of her face. He again was hysterically laughing, and I'm like, okay, this guy's on something.
He must have been having a good time. Yeah, they must have had some good treats.
I will say, speaking of theater experiences, when Wong does wake up from after his long nap on the cliff, there were a lot of people in my theater that were oh yeah, they thought he was dead, and they were happy to see that he wasn't. I was wow, I was not surprised by this, but good for you guys.
When Wong was just laying basically half dead on the edge of the cliff, this guy's just laughing his ass off. I'm like, man, yeah, he's definitely had some treats.
One thing I want to show, because I don't want to forget it, is earlier Kirklin was talking about the more legacy and building up the Scarlet Witch. I love that it was a very historian mummy-esque, that look, it's a statue of her and it could be here the whole time and stuff like that, because that gets into, again, is she really the Scarlet Witch? Is it just a mutant power, or there's people that believe in this? They're leaning more towards the witchcraft, Destiny sort of route. But I did like that reveal of they're in there, and then she's like, no, it's not a dungeon, it's a throne and stuff like that. So I really like that reveal of, oh shit, it's been here the whole time and everything. And
that was awesome.
Even though I still questioned when she used the dark hole the first time to dreamwalk, I don't know why she used it when Wong and all the other sorcerers were there, because it seemed like she could use it anywhere. So the fact that she just had this big fight, some of them were knocked out, and she just throws it down to use it there, I felt didn't make sense, because again, it showed that the dark hole just got destroyed. So I thought that was a kind of a little convenience for her just to be popping off with it while there's threats around, when she's been hiding for a long time now.
I wondered if that had something to do with specifically her doing it at Camartage, there
me
was some
too.
power drawn there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it was very risky.
Oh yeah, and it was. She lost Darkle, right? She had to get back up there, and great reveal too with those monsters getting ready to fight, and they just bow to her, and that for me was an oh shit moment, because it's just it's just in a real time strategy when you're getting soldiers and bigger towers. So it's just each every 20 minutes, one is getting stronger and stronger, and it's like it was like Thanos when he kept getting stone after stone. It's just like she has this power, she's taking all these people. Now she has these monsters, and now she's traveling into different multiverses with different Wandas. Which you gotta feel bad for that Wanda who just wakes up covered in blood and just like, where the fuck? Why am I at the Illuminati tower and stuff like that? But I know he'll come up again. But anything specifically on Strange?
Not specifically.
Only thing I'll shout out again before I forget it is I absolutely loved. I know we'll probably talk about him, but when he bumps into the Strange at the end, who's been using the Darkhold, that music note fight, holy shit, that felt like a Marvel movie made by Nintendo. It was fucking. That's where that whole scene. So it just felt like Luigi's Mansion, though. Of like sometimes there's a ghost that will just throw like music notes at you. You're like, this doesn't make much sense. Like even the fight to me, like it doesn't make sense. Like why they're resorting to music note powers, but. Fuck, it was awesome. And when he just like sends that little one, it was just so cool and so unique. And that's the stuff where like it feels like comic books. It feels weird. It feels this is batshit crazy, but I loved it. So that whole sequence, 10 out of 10. That was awesome.
100%. Yeah, that like visually the audio that went with that scene, like it was so special. And I loved it how like the bad Strange was even like countering with his own notes there, and they just had like their own little orchestra going on. Like it was just like a battle of the music. That was so stellar. Again, another scene that dude behind me was just absolutely laughing at for whatever reason. He just loved the music.
He was
notes.
high, yeah. I think it's confirmed. If he laughed at that, yeah, I wanted to bring that up too. So just to repeat again, it was so great because I brought this up back in our Doctor Strange review from back in the day. Is that there's this like strange connection between Pink Floyd and Doctor Strange where, you know, the members of Pink Floyd are like fans, and so they like reference Doctor Strange in some of their songs, and one of their album covers is a comic panel from Doctor Strange. And in the first movie they had a Pink Floyd song in the soundtrack, and there like that scene in particular, the music that was playing is like exactly like this part from one Pink Floyd song called Atom Heart Mother, which is what my nickname is based off of. So, and it, it's probably just because I've heard that song a million times, but there was just like, I don't know, these few chords played from like this kind of orchestral music, but it has like these dark undertones to it, and it's leading to something kind of sinister. So I don't know if there was any inspiration there for that from the composer with that particular part, but that really stood out to me. It was fantastic. And like the music in general, just I think Travis mentioned like the guitars, like those electric guitars and stuff. It definitely just harkens back to like 60s, 70s era, like progressive rock with just like these weird interludes with strange guitar noises and stuff like Yes or other Pink Floyd songs. The other one that stood out to me was when Mordo poisons them when they're drinking tea. The music that plays there and like the trippy effects that are going on. Is fucking fantastic. I love the soundtrack so much in this movie.
And I like that they still had notes from his first theme in the other movie, because that always worries me because it switched composer to Michael Giacchino to Danny Elfman. And I always say because Danny Elfman's done that before. He did that with Age of Ultron, where if you watch Avengers and Age of Ultron, until the credits, he doesn't use the Ultron or the Avengers theme like once, and you're like, this is the Avengers theme, like where is it? So I like that there's multiple times where there was maybe variations of the theme, but it had that theme, and I like that because every hero like should kind of be their thing, like again, maybe not every like the sequel was great, but anytime Wonder Woman's there, because you hear that fucking guitar going, you're like, oh, she's here. The same with Captain America, the same with Iron Man with AC/DC. So to me it works all the time to have like little entrance music, and I love that scene because the score was going and then they're also fighting with the music notes, and I just love that these music notes are like hitting each other, and it's like it just sounds like a kid like banging on stuff. Just fantastic.
And one final kind of music-y thing is just some of the sound effects too. Like they obviously play a lot of kind of classic horror stuff, which is the creepy tritones and things, like the chords that just hit you when you see like Wanda's face pop up or something. But I also like that there's a couple of moments where they threw in the kind of like 1600s like bell chime that would play, which is very just makes you think of like witchcraft and stuff like that. So those sound effects too were used a lot, but it didn't seem like cheesy to me or overdone in any way. Like it just added so much to these scenes that just somehow kept getting more and more intense for what felt like sometimes like 15-minute sequences before you get that reprieve. It was just amazing.
Yeah, they used that chime a few times when characters would wake up, almost like it was waking them up, and that was great. Or when they used it, they referred to it, but that one time where they're covering all the puddles, and Wanda's eye just like pops up, and like, and they close. Like that show is so good. That's where again it reminded me of like I've been to Disneyland and the Haunted Mansion they have there, and it's like all kind of like gimmicky stuff like that. That was a really fun aspect of it. So, obviously we got lots of big characters to talk about. We got lots of big reveals, but let's talk about one more of the newer characters before we get into the bread and butter, if you will. Let's talk about America Chavez. Kirklin, what do you thought about her MCU debut? Yeah, she's a part of the Young Avengers in the comic books. She multiverse traveler, powerful character. What do you think of her?
Yeah, I quite liked her. I thought this was a fun introduction to her character. I thought she fit the role of like a fun little sidekick at portions, but then by the end, like it was like, okay, she's actually going to be a pretty relevant character. It seems like her power is just too strong to kind of ignore going forward with the Avengers movies and just whatever big collaboration. It's like, okay, she's gonna be able to hold her own, and I feel like we're just scratching the surfaces of her power. Like we know that, okay, she can kind of figure it out, but I love how she's just training like with the other sorcerers by the end. Like and she's actually showing sparks, so like she has some potential there. I'm really excited to see her again. I thought she was very charismatic. Like she was a fun character to just have on screen. And yeah, like I didn't think she was overused at all. I feel like maybe that could happen with a new character that they're trying to introduce to the entire MCU, but I didn't think she overshadowed like Doctor Strange at all. And she was really fun. I really liked like the design actually of her like power usage. Like it would just be those giant stars. It was just a fun aesthetic to have, and yeah, I liked her. I think she's fun, and I'm excited to see her again.
Yeah, I really liked her too. I think like maybe the one scene that seemed a bit weird to me is when they are cruising through that other what is it, 868, whatever the other number is, and like they just walk across like this memory booth, and that's how you get like her origin story. It was okay, a little forced, but I don't know, it was fine. It's not like that we spent a half an hour going through her whole life story or something like that.
I just laughed too that there's people.
Silly.
I agree with you, because there's also just like people walking their regular day life while they see these people massacred. No one really like bats an eye. So like I think that was very much like we don't have time. Let's just do it here, and it's like a little sloppy, but.
And I feel like too, like you even see like when a camera angle it's zoomed out, and there's people walking on either side of them. But then when you're actually seeing it, it's like they're standing looking at this thing, and then no one's blocking the view. It was just maybe a bit cheesy.
And even then, to nitpick it more, they're just like, oh, you can see your memory at a discounted rate. They didn't pay anything. Like they didn't like.
Yeah.
No,
Well, she doesn't pay. You know, she got the pizza pops too. Like.
Those looked fucking good though. Those pizza like those pizza balls. Yeah,
pizza balls.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, those looked good. I wanted those in my mouth pronto. So Disneyland, start working on it.
Yeah,
that whole scene. Oh, sorry. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I mean the content of the backstory is like it's you know, we've seen that kind of thing before, I guess, but it's a good enough setup, and I think it is set up in a way that, I mean, even like the line that Strange has at the end is that, you know, when you can control your powers better, like you can go find them or you can go show your mothers like what you can do now. I
think
guess.
she says
they
like
were leaving it very open that
Yeah.
that is going to be a journey that she's going to go on. So I don't know. It was weird. Like she can control it well enough at the end, but she can't control it well enough to go back.
She can't
to that
do
universe.
it on command.
So,
They were doing the Spider-Verse joke.
still
They were
working
doing
on
that. Yeah. Well,
But
and that.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. She said something like, "Oh, I wish I could show my parents," and he's like, "You're gonna," which, like, I agree with you. It's just to leave it open, but it's still very bold and strange to say, because, like, what if they do just find them? They're just fucking skeletons somewhere, you know? Like, it's like
Very possible.
I wouldn't be promising that if I were Strange. I'd be like, "Oh, I hope you're right."
She'd be the new villain if that happens. She'd just be pissed at Strange.
Look what you did. You said my parents were alive.
But I agree with Kirklin. I think just super charismatic, and this is a character I'd really like them to bring into the greater Avengers thing. We've talked about like, oh, maybe Young Avengers is where they do next, and I just can already picture like her and Kate Bishop just having some fun conversations going on adventures together. So I'm really excited to see more of her, and I can't wait to see her combination of power. Like I don't know how much she's gonna use the interdimensional powers. Like when she has the sorcerer stuff, you know, like do you really want to mess with that? It can get pretty dark quickly if you're messing with all other timelines and stuff, obviously. But I'm excited to see where this character is in a few years' time, and hopefully she sticks around for a long time. And is there any like talk of her getting a TV show or appearing and stuff, or is it kind of just maybe some of that will come out after this movie, and they didn't really want to spoil what goes on here?
Yeah, not yet, but I feel like with Strange, her, the cameos, Wanda, I feel like there's lots of stuff that's just kind of waiting to be announced. So I feel like I feel like this movie was holding a lot of things back, especially we'll talk about in spoilers, but I could see her being in, I feel like she's a part of the Young Avengers, and I feel like that's going to happen. So I feel like, I don't know what the plot line will be, but I think they are going to put her and Yelena and all of them together and stuff like that. So
Nice.
Yeah, I liked her enough. I was expecting, and I don't know why I would expect this because I don't know this actress, so she's not like the other two, but I was kind of hoping the same way I felt about Yelena and Black Widow or Kate Bishop, that I just like was absolutely in love with the characters. Like, oh, can't wait to see more. I liked her enough. I think it kind of stalled a bit in the middle because she just was too much of the MacGuffin. She was just too much of the thing to grab. She was just, you could have made her another book or a stone or something. So I think that was my only problem, that I wanted a little bit more through. And I know, who knows, they said the first cut of this movie was like they cut out 35 minutes. And if there was some stuff with her in it, I wish they could have maybe kept some of that stuff. And even like Clay mentioned earlier, he said he kind of wished that maybe you got a bit more of Wanda in the Darkhold. And I agree. I think, like Dylan said, it feels like 2 hours, but it feels longer than that. But I still feel like there's a few, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes, 5 minute scenes you could have added. So I want a little bit more. I like her, but it wasn't at the point where like, man, I can't wait to see her next. It's like, okay, if she's there, I'll be happy. I think the parent storyline, that's an interesting route to lead on, because that could even somehow maybe be a plot of Young Avengers, or her looking for her parents and create some trouble and everything like that. So again, I like Dylan and I were talking about, I thought the memory scene was a little clunky. It's just one of these things where that's where I think the script of this movie isn't I think the badassery coolness of the movie is like a 20 out of 10, where the script and story writing is like people are here to see Zombie Strange, let's just give her this origin. So I liked her, didn't love her. And I thought the actress did a good enough job. I think her scenes near the end were better than the scenes at the beginning. At the beginning, I wasn't digging her, but I just kind of felt indifferent. So, Taylor, Chavez?
I really liked her quite a bit, and that makes me very content knowing, again, that so far all these characters that have been introduced by like their OGs of the MCU have been really, really just jiving well with me. I'm really stoked to see where we go with these characters and what new adventures they get onto. It's always a hard thing, I think, for most fans to kind of let go of the originals. You have, Iron Man, Hulk, Doctor Strange, all these characters, and to see them kind of take a step back and now hand over the mantle, so to speak, to these new iconic characters, I'm digging it a lot more than I thought I would, and I think that's great. That's the hard part, but they're doing it so well with this character, America Chavez, that original Marvel fans that like us that grew up with these films can appreciate and enjoy this character, and then the next generation, like our kids, will be able to go in to see this movie, and they'll be able to enjoy this new character with her new powers and everything too. So I think that they did a great job with her. I really liked how she kind of learned to, again, with the help of Doctor Strange, control her powers, and just aesthetically, her powers were super cool. I loved her knowledge on the multiverse. I liked that she was the only one that existed among the multiverses too. That was an interesting concept, but that does suck. But
I don't have dreams. That was a sad line when she's like, I don't have dreams. And I actually really love that concept of what are your dreams? Oh, they're just other multiverses out there. That's fucking cool and scary at the same time. But continue.
just really quickly before I throw it back to Taylor, like I feel like that's such a big like thing to introduce to the MCU going forward, because now knowing from like Iron Man 1, anytime Tony was like having a dream, like he was just visiting like his own multiverse. So like again, it's always bold when they introduce new concept like that. Same thing with like their time travel that was introduced in Infinity War, Endgame, I guess, right? Like it's just a really big concept, and they got to make those steps if they just want to keep pushing forward.
And even though it is different and it's years earlier, you can still harken back to the very first time we met Wanda. She like gets in Tony's head and puts that little vision in his head about Thanos winning, right? But it's like, is that a vision, or that could just be her tapping into him having one of those dreams and seeing that easily that could have been a multiverse where Thanos just fucking won. We were very close to that. So that idea of dreams being multiverses, I thought that was just like, it's such a little throwaway line. They don't even spend that much time talking about it, but that's like, man, that's what if season 3, 4, and 5 right there. Like, I can't wait for all those dreams to come true. We didn't see the Watcher. I couldn't believe that. I just had that epiphany. We did not see the Watcher.
There. He was there.
Right, of course, yeah. Why don't you help?
Yeah. He was on Doctor Strange's door with Mephisto. Like,
right, yeah. They're all in that room there, yeah.
But no, all in all, like I think she was fantastic, and I'm very much excited to see her come back. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, let's take an ad break, and we're going to talk about some, main event for some people, but obviously a huge, big chunk that happened in this movie. We're going to talk about the Illuminati, so we'll be right back. And we're back. So, excuse me. So we'd seen this in the trailers. We get introduced to when they go to that first universe. We meet Baron Mordo, who I loved. Obviously, some changes happened along the way, but I love the friendly, like, oh, brother, stuff like that. I will say, and obviously something's happened to him here, I really do hope in Doctor Strange 3 we meet our current one again, because
Yeah, I was really curious about that.
yeah, that was a theory, and I'll shout out to Chris Balgo from Marvel Alliance. He's the first one that put that in my mind, that, oh, this one of Baron Mordo, it's probably not him, it's a variant. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense and everything. And that's what he was. He was a variant of a world where they were seemingly like best friends, and now he was the Sorcerer Supreme. And like Dylan talked about earlier, he's telling him all the setup and the rules and what's going on. And you get the statue of, oh, Doctor Strange died fighting Thanos. Again, I just love Thanos being like a through line always through MCU right now, because he is a big threat. He's our Darth Vader. So it's all great. He drugs him a little bit. He apologizes. And then we get brought to the Illuminati Tower. That's where we meet the variant. We've talked about it, I guess, a few times. But we met the variant of Christine there, and she lost her Strange, which we'll reveal more about after. But, and then they bring him out, and because they want to talk to him about a threat. So they bring him out, and he's going to go into this office, and he's going to meet the Illuminati. Now, cameos and all this stuff have been rumored for months and everything like that. And we got a plethora of people. We got, lo and behold, the one I'm probably most shocked about is Anson Mount as Black Bolt from the Inhuman show. The show that got one season got canceled. We got Monica Rambeau as
That's
Captain.
the same actor from the TV show?
Same actor, yes.
Wow.
Nice.
We got Monica Rambeau back, so it's kind of like, oh, if she would have got the Captain Marvel powers. We got the great Captain Carter, played by Haley Atwell, was in this. We have, obviously, it was shown in the trailers. We have Professor X, played by, I was going to say Charles Xavier, played by Patrick Stewart one more time, the man who keeps dying, keeps coming back. And then we had the big one. We had the one that, for years, there's two fan casts I've always heard about, and somehow Disney made them come true. I, on the internet, had always heard about Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka, and that happened. And Disney flashed flag. He was like, we could make that happen. What do we have? What's the one people keep shouting out for us? Oh, well, people could just keep talking about John Krasinski as Reed Richards till the cows come home. Keep talking about it. And lo and behold, and it was smart, because when Christine was talking to Strange, she said, oh, I work at Baxter Building. Right there, I was like, oh, shit, something's going to happen, because that's where Fantastic Four's home base is. And then... and obviously, I forgot to mention, Baron Mordo is also on this panel as well. And he says, and the smartest man that is living, or smartest man in the world, Reed Richards. And the thing comes up, and it's boom. Hi,
Not
Steven.
the
Nice
Thing.
to see you.
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski. So two things. One, that was a confirmed casting, which we're going to talk more about here. But also our first Fantastic Four in the MCU. Obviously, Fox was bought before Endgame, but still, that was 3-4 years ago now, and now we're finally seeing the stuff. Well, we actually saw our first mutant in Xavier and our first Fantastic Four member in the same movie, and I'm going to throw it off to other people before I go, because I've been rambling, but I do want to say one fact that I'm not sure if you guys caught, but when Doctor Strange sees him, he says, Fantastic Four, didn't you guys chart in the 60s? So he has now confirmed that the Fantastic Four was around in our MCU in the 60s. So I think what happened, whoever's playing these people, is they went up to space and they got lost, and I think they're going to come back in present day. So they did confirm in this movie that the Fantastic Four has always been in our MCU, just like they did with Captain Marvel and Ant-Man, that they've been around. We just haven't heard their story yet, which I thought was fascinating. I didn't even think they'd get that far. So, Dilmas, what do you think about these cameos? Say anything and everything. Obviously, a very big scene that fans, I imagine, are going to be talking about and giddy for years now. So
Yeah. Well, first I want to ask, because I forget, someone posted on our Discord, it might have been you, Travis, that there was like some TV spot or something that spoiled another cameo from this.
Yeah. Carter.
What was that?
They showed the fight of Wanda where the shield gets thrown, it hits the wall. They showed Captain Carter's shield, but it was on the poster, but still, it was like, this was the confirming of like, she's physically moving around doing stuff. So that was the only one they showed again, confirming was the shield was being thrown around.
You know what wasn't actually in the poster is Deadpool, and I said that is not fucking Deadpool when we did that cast. Like, you guys are crazy.
Oh
So,
yeah, I thought we were getting Deadpool. I really thought.
I was thinking that second post credit scene. I'm like, is it Deadpool? Like
Yeah,
after
I
listening
thought
to
it was
you
gonna
and
be that too.
Kirklin's cast where you picked what was like 10 characters
Yeah.
that you know, and someone picked Deadpool, and you guys were just getting really hyped up on it. And not to say that I'm disappointed that he wasn't or something, but
I thought it was
going to happen.
I thought he was gonna maybe happen when Chavez and Strange were going through all the multiverses together. I thought they were just gonna go through one, and Deadpool would be like, "What the hell was that?" And then they'd go by really quickly. But no, Wade Wilson's still yet to make his debut, but we got a lot of other debuts happening. So
Yeah, well, I'll say the John Krasinski one is maybe the biggest one for me, and I picked John Krasinski on my draft at some point in the past. I don't think he was in my most recent one, so I'm not going to try and fight for points.
well, you
or
didn't
anything like
because
that.
you got points for him for Super Pets. He tied you a draft one year, so that's why you didn't pick him again. Yeah,
Right.
he plays Superman in Super Pets. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, I was always on board with the cast of him as Reed Richards. I just thought it made too much sense, and so it's really cool to see. I will say one thing about the Illuminati scene that didn't work for me is I definitely got vibes that they were all not in the studio on the same day.
Yes.
Like you never really maybe you get a zoom out shot where you see everyone, and they just like patch it together. But even like from him in particular is where it's actually stood out to me the most, unfortunately, where when he was like talking to Doctor Strange or responding to something someone else would say, it just felt like to me like he was never in a room with those people. And I'm sure he was for the Wanda fight part of it, but at least for the Illuminati scene where they're up there on their thrones, it did feel a little disjointed. Did you guys kind of get that vibe too?
100%. You said the fight. I could see every single scene he was in that movie, them not being together, which that has happened. Remember, Dave Bautista and Tom Holland, who had many scenes together in Infinity War, did not meet till the premiere of the Infinity War movie. There's many times where these actors never even meet,
That's
so
crazy,
like
yeah.
same
Movie
thing
magic.
like yeah, same thing bringing a different movie like Zack Snyder's Justice League. They had a scene with Ben Affleck and Jared Leto. They were never together. There was a 5-minute scene of them acting. They acted with doubles and they just spliced it together. So because of schedule, these people are busy. I think there's a chance they never once were in the same room together. Any of these, maybe not any, but a lot of these people, like, and Xavier was always like off to the like by himself.
Yeah.
Like he's always in the middle and stuff like that. So yeah, I 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
I love your theory, Travis, and I hope that is the case. I think that just makes a lot of sense of how the Fantastic Four could exist already, and I hope we see it that way. I think I wanted a bit more stretchiness from him. I would have liked to see a little bit more. We don't really get a whole lot, which is
I was surprised
is
we
fine.
even had like stretching of him at all. I thought he was just gonna
Really?
be standing like right. I feel like I didn't even think he was gonna be in this movie, but when he was there, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we have him in the suit. That's like enough. And then when we actually got him stretching around, and then his brutal death.
Well, I was gonna say he
and maybe
stretched a
not the
lot.
most breath.
Yeah, he stretched
Yeah.
a lot until. See, I'll fight you.
Right.
I think Black Bolt's is.
So that's what I was gonna say. I was
That's
like catching myself
fucking
already.
terrifying.
Like, that was,
Yeah.
and
What
again,
mouth?
that's another one of those moments where I'm like, oh my god, this is MCU. Like they're really
Yeah.
pushing it on this one.
That I think honestly got the biggest gasp of my whole thing. Other than the reveals,
Yeah.
like a moment when his head just exploded is like Jesus. Like this is like, and it was like I said, a creepy way of her being like, "What mouth?" And you just look, and he has that Matrix
Yeah.
thing going on. You're like, "Oh my god, don't say anything, Black." Oh,
Still
he's gone.
freaks me out.
It goes
Yeah.
from 0 to 100 like incredibly
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
His brain is gone 2 seconds after
That-
that
that
happens.
entire sequence, Travis. I'm just like, this is just Omni Man coming in, and just messing up.
100%. Yeah,
It's
everyone watching
very-
Invincible. Yeah.
Yeah, go watch Invincible. Absolutely, it was just very graphic, and yeah, she dismantled everyone. And I forgot to shout out initially when we were talking about her, but she very much had that like Carrie aesthetic. If that's
Yes.
the right movie that I'm thinking of, yeah, with just like the blood on her,
The white shirt.
like very creepy. But
Do you want to
actually,
stay on like the Mr.
well,
Fantastic train before we
I'd-
jump around? There's so many,
I do because I have a.
What is it?
Like I have like a question or a pitch that I'm not sure
I
about.
can go while you're thinking.
Yeah,
about it.
you and Taylor go because like it's a question
so-
that would kind of make us to another conversation. It's about Fantastic, but
So yeah, with like just first of all the reveal of Krasinski, that was like I was audibly gasping in that moment. I couldn't believe that I could actually just see him in a live action MCU movie. Like he looked so good too. Like honestly, it's
Suit
like,
looked
oh
great.
My God, the
Yeah.
suit looked phenomenal, and he
Was the guy behind you laughing at that too? Or?
I don't even know because I think everyone in the theater was actually like, oh, here we go, and then as
My
he
theater
started
was
talking,
popping
maybe
off
he was
when
laughing.
he popped
but
up. For sure.
yeah, it was and it didn't just feel like Jim to me, like from The Office. Like he really felt like he fit into that
hope
role.
not.
Like he looked like a superhero. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And
The
his
beard
lines
changes a
deliveries
man.
was really good. The
The
does
beard is
change a man.
key. I think the beard, and which is good because Reed Richards in more recent years comics has a beard, so it lines up and everything. So
And I think just that entire sequence, I was just grinning ear to ear. Like when I saw Captain Britain, like obviously I love seeing her in What If, but just to have like, oh my gosh, what's the actress's name? Help me out here.
John
Haley
Krasinski, Patrick
Haley Atwell,
Stewart.
thank you.
Oh, okay.
Not John Krasinski.
I didn't know. I didn't know you're still talking about Captain Britain.
Okay,
I just thought
fair
you.
enough.
Yeah.
No. Haley Atwell looks so good in the costume. Like she looked so badass. I love that she dropped the line too. I was just like, I can do this all day. That was so fun. And just I had no idea who that Inhuman dude was. He was basically a graybeard from Skyrim. He just like couldn't talk. If he did, he would just murder someone. But yeah, all in all, like the Illuminati were just really badass. And I was like semi worried because I'm like, how is Patrick Stewart not like in this Illuminati circle right now? Because they were talking to him, and then sure enough, it's like, and our final member shows up in like a Lamborghini looking wheelchair. That thing was so fucking pimping.
Yeah, that is
Kind of like
rip-
Smythe from the Spider-Man animated show almost.
Well,
Like,
it's a good it's a adaptation from the '97 X-Men animated series that shares the exact same. And if you heard the music that did, that is the theme for the animated show. So they are pretty much inferring that is the animated exhibit, which makes sense because like all the concept art that leaked was him in that chair. So it's like, yeah, he's playing that version. But hearing the '97 X-Men theme, oh my God, I was going to die in the theater. I couldn't believe what I was hearing right there. And even Xavier, who's just there for like a little bit, Stewart's just so fucking good, man. He's always good. He's just,
Oh, literally, like I think it's when he's just dialoguing with Strange, like when everyone else is gonna go take care of Wanda.
yeah.
Not too well for them, but like when he's just dialoguing with them there and like just being classic like Charles, like Patrick Stewart's Charles, like I was literally like tearing up. I'm like, like we like just talking about like predictions of like leading up to this of him being in the movie. Like we're not going to see him for many more movies going forward. Like it's just so special, like that character to me, of just seeing like all the X-Men. And yeah, I was like getting emotional just hearing like these line deliveries. It's just like, man, I absolutely love Patrick Stewart. He's such a special actor, and yeah, definitely just so awesome to have him in this movie.
And you're talking about line deliveries. The one that hit me is he dropped the same line of Days of Future Past when he says, just because we stumble and lose our way doesn't mean we're lost. And in Days of Future Past, he's
Goosebumps
saying that
right
to his
now,
young
yeah.
self. So, and again, that's kind of the theme for Strange, for Wanda, hopefully down the line, that you're stumbling, but doesn't mean you've lost your way. And yeah, that was great.
So phenomenal.
Yeah.
she's also literally stumbling. So.
She literally, yeah, that glass, man.
Oh, and one quick thing I forgot to mention with the Fantastic Four thing and like that line about them being in the 60s kind of fucking off and possibly come back. What a perfect way to like introduce them into the show. They don't have to say like, oh, these scientists went up and they had this accident while all this other shit was going on, and now we just have a Fantastic Four. Like it's really easy to digest that, I think. Just
Yes.
like they're planting the seeds really well for the origins of these characters. And yeah, I thought that was I feel like I didn't really think about it much because I just heard the 60s line. I didn't really think of it until Travis, you mentioned it. But yeah, that's so clever of them to introduce them that way. And very excited to see who directs. Is it going to be John Krasinski in the suit? Is he going to be behind
I'm about
the
to ask that
camera?
in a second here. Yeah, Taylor Field, what do you feel? How's this Illuminati scene hit you? You must have been popping. Let's get it out of the way first. Let's start with the bad stuff. How you have to be a little disappointed because ever since Endgame, I feel like you've been talking about that Ghost Rider. He's gonna be in this movie. This is where we're gonna see him. And there was no bike. There was no Nick Cage on a chair. So one, I'm sure you were a little disappointed by that, but then I think you're probably happy by these other cameos. But what was your experience like for these
Was he
cameos?
on the door of the Doctor Strange mansion?
Yeah, did you see him?
See a Ghost Rider.
Yeah. That was definitely unfortunate that Ghost Rider isn't in there, but
It's
I
coming.
can live. It's coming. It's not
Next
the end of the
5 years.
multiverse stuff. Yeah, I'm sure America Chavez will stumble upon that right, dimension where you'll see Ghost Rider or something like that. But
Cosmic Ghost Rider, please.
Cosmic Ghost Rider, yes.
After
So
this movie, we just got Zombie Strange. We can get fucking We can get
they
Frank.
need to do it.
We can get Frank Castle, played by John Bernthal, who becomes Ghost Rider. We can get this.
Yes,
Let's
sign
do
me
it.
up.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. But other than that, the Illuminati was just fantastic. Again, I was getting really giddy at this point when the robots were taking him.
The Ultron bots.
Ultron bots, yeah, were taking Doctor Strange to the chamber. And I was just thinking, okay, finally, we're going to get to see like who these other characters are. Fuck if I knew who those other characters were aside from the three. But anyways, it was just super, super wonderful to see what we got to see, like Captain Carter and Professor Xavier and that fucking motorboat of a chair. The fucking thing was huge. And
whose motorboat was it, Xavier?
Yeah, whose motorboat was it, Xavier?
Smart.
But seeing Captain Carter was just super, super cool because I thoroughly enjoyed What If, and then seeing this representation. Obviously, it's definitely not the same Captain Carter. And I told
we don't know that for sure, you know.
I guess so. I have a strong inkling it's not.
She'll be back for season 2.
I told Madison this, like, fuck. Could you imagine, I'm glad for your sake that you didn't take Gwen. Gwen dressed up in the Captain Carter costume, all super stoked to see her favorite superhero of all time in this movie just get fucking annihilated.
Yeah, if people don't know, there's one that's biased because her name's Gwen, but she loves Spider-Gwen because Spider-Verse. But then when we watch What If, after What If, she's like, I want to be Captain Carter for Halloween. That was in August, and she kept that the whole way through. She loves Captain Carter. And at first, I thought, oh, we should take her because I heard rumors about her being this. But then once there was more inkling, she was in the Illuminati scene, which I and a lot of other people were pretty sure that Illuminati were fucked. I was like, yeah, poor and Captain Carter's like, yeah, she definitely can't see this yet because that would have been a big bummer for her to see Captain Carter get taken away like that, you know?
All the deaths were just really wild. But yeah, Captain Carter, like, I had a split moment where I thought she would live. But yeah, as soon as you get that camera shot of the shield going back her way, it's like, ooh, that is rough.
They're going to show her whole body, just like cut.
That's so too.
Just like slide off.
to me, it was 100% a tribute to his own movie. If you remember at the end of Spider-Man 1 when the glider's coming up and it zooms and then it does that hard zoom on Dafoe when he's like, oh, she didn't do that, but they did that where it was going and then they zoomed on her face and then there's the clink and stuff. But I get why they didn't show the human body in half, but brutal way to go, you know?
It's a very brutal way. The John Krasinski, that scene when that popped up, that was the most loud my theater got. Was just like absolutely shocked, and I was shocked. I couldn't. We heard the rumors, we heard the possibility, and then just seeing it, like you guys mentioned already, his suit was fantastic. I immediately looked at him like, I gotta cosplay as this. I gotta grow out the beard. I gotta grow out the beard. Yeah. I gotta grow out the beard. Yeah, he looks so good as Reed Richards. I love it. Talking about how he's got a wife, he's got kids, and then want to just fucking dukes him out on that. Like, good, someone will raise your kids. Then
you think Uncle
that line was savage.
You think Uncle Owen had a good line this week? Yeah, her being like, at least there'll be someone to raise your children. Holy, and then she proceeded to fucking kill him. Not even a threat, just like stripped him, just Siliputty. Oh my god, I was like.
I was excited to see like how this fight was gonna go down, and yes, but like after, whatever Sonic Boom voice, whatever his name was, Black Bolt,
Sonic Boom voice.
He's in Ultimate Alliance 3. You don't know who he is? Come on.
No, I don't. There's
fake fan.
With how big of a roster that game has, no.
You can't play as him. You can look at him.
Okay.
Okay.
Not much of a moveset there.
He doesn't talk much.
Yeah.
After he gets bopped, I thought, okay, like, how's this gonna go down? Is this just like an off character? We're getting killed off here, but no. With Reed Richards going into, like, he barely goes into stretch form, and yeah, he just turned into like hot dog fingers. Oh my god! And like, I don't even know what really happened to his head. It just like snapped.
If you talk about hot dog fingers, everyone who likes this multiverse movie, please, everyone, go see Everything Everywhere All at Once. Maybe the greatest movie of all time ever made.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
No spoilers. But there was a lot of similarities. But yeah, hot dog fingers. Yeah. But and Nakia in the chat said, so MCU's one is mass murder, and she didn't learn shit after WandaVision. Go back about an hour. We dove into Wanda, but yeah, she was mass murdering people here. To me, I already knew they're dead, but when Black Bolt's head popped off, I was like, man, it's not gonna go well. Like the person that put up the best fight was Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
Yeah, it didn't go her way. And again, I was happy to see her because I like her. I like her. No, sorry, she's Maria Rambeau. I like her more than Monica from WandaVision. I wish she was the one that stuck around, but and that was an easy headcanon that she's the one that found the cube instead of Carol. Like easy, okay, done. And
yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, I liked her suit too, like the black version. Like,
yeah,
that was cool.
Sweet.
The last thing I want to point out amongst these deaths or whatnot is Xavier. When he went into the dream sequence or the mind sequence with Wanda, I love that. That was a super cool setup. And then he's strolling and he sees the good Wanda buried under the rubble. I commend him because like he wasn't like he tried, but he's not probably the first pick you'd want pulling you out of the debris. But
I swear there was a moment I'm like, dude, she's like half out. Come on, Wanda, just crawl out right now.
just
And
crawl.
then
Yeah,
she's
she
just
could have
like,
made it.
what's that?
I legitimately like I wasn't expecting it. I think I did jump in the theater because like the red smoke was coming. I thought, okay, this is bad Wanda creeping in. And when she like came out and grabbed like she looked like a zombie and grabbed his face, and then it jumped to like the real perspective, and she like twists his like fucking head. I was like, holy shit. Like that's a rough way to go. But again, he's always dying left, right, and center, right? So
Oh yeah, this is death 3 or 4 for him now. So, you know, it's a rough go for Xavier. Yeah, I honestly, that was the most disappointing death because I didn't really like that scene. I thought the second they went in each other's mind, I'm like, man, we're going to get a fucking banger scene right here of a battle. And it was just him walking up, getting a jump scare. And then I hated the line when he's like, perhaps if I pull you from this rubble, the curse will break. And it's just like,
Yeah.
is this a fucking video game plot? Like when a character literally, like when you're playing a mission for 20 minutes and you're lost and the NPC's like, you got to pull her from the rubble. Pull her from the rubble. Like, I did not like that. And I just thought,
Hey.
yeah, exactly. I just thought, yeah, maybe if you pause, you will get some help. I didn't like that. And I just thought the aesthetic of just a pure white CGI room, it just didn't work for me. And I almost thought too, just him getting his neck scalp, it was creepy, but I was expecting more when you have Wanda, who's right now being positioned as MCU's most powerful character, and Xavier, who's like the most powerful, one of the most powerful mutants. The fact that it was just he went in his mind and got tricked, I didn't really jive with that. I thought it could have been a lot better, and I was getting hyped. And honestly too, I thought they were about to retcon some Magneto stuff because when they were going back to where she was a kid and her house was blown up, I still too wish there was this movie had a lot of fan service. I was still waiting for him to be like, oh, I know Wanda Maximoff. I was friends with your father. And I wish that happened, but it didn't. Oh, go ahead.
That scene, it definitely ended like unsatisfying for me. I think when it initially like they went into the mind realm and then it goes to just like that white scene, I was actually really pumped because it reminded me of what is it, X2, when there's like that one psychic that
Jason,
like takes,
stop it. Yeah.
like it takes him to that spot, so it very much just like brought me back to those X-Men movies, and I was pretty excited, and I thought it was going to be a really like, again, just like a battle of the wits of maybe him just dialoguing with Wanda and then seeing if he can like reason with her. It just to have him like try and pull the actual Wanda out of the rubble, it was definitely just didn't feel satisfying at all.
That to me is we got Patrick Stewart for 2 hours. What can we shoot? That's what that felt like to me, you know. And like, okay, well, we could have this rock pile and a like. Even then, it's like, why is it in a white room? Why is it this? Like, why isn't the set of where she actually her parents died? You know, it's strange. So
yeah, to me, it had like a good start where I agree with Taylor. Like when we first went there, I was like, okay, this is a cool setup. I'm excited for this. But then I got to the point where I was like, okay, this is very green. This is over top green screeny. And then you're like, yeah, when that line is not good. Like I would have loved just a dialogue sequence between them. But then once again, the smoke at the end was cool. So it's like the ending, the start and end of that moment were good, but for like the stuff in the middle didn't work so well, unfortunately.
A big shout out to Nakia for giving us a super chat for $5. Thank you very much. You can support us that way if you want to at any point. So thank you very much. They said Charles' death was so nonsensical. Dude's biggest strength is telepathic mind controlling and inflicting pain through that. How could such and maybe you were trailing off. You can put the part 2. You don't got to donate any other money there. But yeah, and that was my problem where I thought we were getting at like a 5-minute sequence of them tricking each other or outwitting one another. And especially too, it was cool even when he did the mind read to Strange, same thing as the animated show. Those mind waves are from that. I love showing the flashback. I love again the Thanos through line. I love the Black Bolt killing Strange of him saying I'm sorry and that's what's killing him, and it just looked brutal. Like, they actually made Black Bolt for this guy who was on this shit show that got canceled, who I'm not even the biggest Inhumans fan, but they made him look like, hey, in the right movie or whatnot, like, this guy could be like, he could be a threat. Like, and I loved the costume and stuff. So I felt like they were doing a good job of sending Xavier to be kind of the de facto leader in a way, and he just got taken out the easiest for me, you know. And I get that he's older, but there's many things you can do, I feel like, in this world where we have Thanos and, you know, all these monsters. Like, there could have been something done, but
yeah, I and like initially when it goes to that white room and then it shows like just him. At first, I thought Wanda like countered it or something, and like he got trapped in like her playing room there, and then yeah, it was really lackluster there. It room for improvement, but honestly, if I'm taking this and having Patrick Stewart in my MCU, I'm totally taking that every day. Just like a couple that dropped really
again, the, you know, down the guy won't be forever. Do it now. You know, it's the same thing. The game again. It's one of these things. People might be like, oh, does it ruin like the send off and Logan? It's like these two different things, and it's like a fun fan. Anyways, they're saying they're it's just like a Kirk Sisko. And that oh, this is so all these pieces are the same. So I hope the fans get down, because if he's not, it's gonna be a tough pill to swallow. And I'm looking very forward, because I again have said this, where I don't have the biggest interest of him starring Reed Richards. I'm fine with it. I want to see what he does, but If you tell me he's the one directing Fantastic Four, that's where my excitement's level 10, because I loved Quiet Place. I love Quiet Place Part 2. I would love to see. And me and Emma were talking about that. I went back in an interview, and it was 2020, where he said he'd love to be a part of the universe. He thinks they're good movies and fun movies. So I feel like because he's a director, maybe the only way to get him to do this role is, and we'll see, it's conspiracy theory stuff, but yeah, I'll play Reed Richards, but I got to direct this too. And all of a sudden we don't have a director. So I'm very curious to see what happens in the next few weeks. Cause I just feel like if he just started directing movies, he's had 2 big hits money wise and critically wise. Would he want to give that up to go be Reed Richards for, 4 to 6 movies? Where if he's directing, I don't know. So do you guys feel that he will be, when they do the Fantastic Four movie, let's say in 2 years, he will be our Reed Richards? Or could this just be a one-off, like, fan service? People love the fan cast. Let's do it now. Like, Dylan, what do you think? Do you think when we get that movie, it will be him?
Well, I guess a question on, so is Fantastic Four, has it started filming yet, or are they still in the production phase?
No, not cast, no writers, and they just lost their director. So pre-production.
And so do you think that just losing the director is like, that happened literally last week and they announced the day it happens, or is that something that happened a while ago?
I feel like it happened a while ago, and I feel like it's just kind of funny that the week before Doctor Strange comes out, that news.
Yeah.
If I'm playing conspiracy theory, that the week before it comes out, this news happens. I don't think it happened that day. I think it came out and happened later. So
that's what I'm saying. Like if he signed up, to do, he was like, I'll do this cameo, and then that all like if that happened months ago, and then that's when he decided to do the cameo, and that's part of the reason why he was never in the room with anyone. That all makes sense. But no, I think you're right on in that if they don't cast him at this point in this role, then that's an uphill battle. And they even set up in this short, like 5-minute sequence, that he's in a very important character in obviously this other world. But Fantastic Four is like the first ever Marvel thing, right? Like that is a pretty important character and casting and whatnot to get right. And Fantastic Four also has an uphill battle just because the other movies have never, I don't know what they did financially, but they were definitely not big hits and not or what people consider to be the peak of superhero movies. So I feel like if they go in with just even that, you got to get everything right. I know people love the MCU and they have a different perspective on it than these kind of one-off movies they've done in the past, but I feel like you want to set up every domino perfect before you knock them over. And if they switch out the casting on that, like I'd have to really go down the list of actors of who they could get that would make people justified it or make them justified in doing that. But I don't know if that's a very long or strong list. Like I think you just kind of like got to go with it at this point.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, like, the thing is with the MCU in our chat, Nikita, you're pointing out that, he's only directed the 2, not that experience. Quiet Place is smaller, but you look at something like Chloe Zhao, Kirklin's favorite movie, Eternals, but it doesn't matter. All she had done at that point is independent movies. Same thing as James Gunn. He had done like small horror films.
Well, I think he's direct. Like, didn't he direct some Office? He's done directing for a while, right?
There's people that have directed MCU movies that have less experience, and it doesn't matter. Quiet Place 1 and 2, both financially are huge hits and both critically huge hits. So that's where to me, that's a steal for them. If like you get to like star and direct in something for both sides, I think that works because he's batting a really good average, and people just like him in general. So I think he could eat. Like, there's people that have less pedigree that have directed stuff in the MCU than him. So I think that's completely fine.
I think A Quiet Place alone. I didn't love the second one, to be honest, but even just the first one, and even the directing for the second one, I think puts you in a good place. And that doesn't mean that he's going to be writing Fantastic Four. It doesn't mean he's going to be the Feige and have like all this creative control. Like they're going to have to have a lot of things set up, and I wonder. This is a whole another tangent of like how much do they go into the origin story of Fantastic Four in that movie and stuff. But I don't know. I think like A Quiet Place, just that one movie sets you up that like he could do it. He could do it.
Kirklin, when we get Fantastic Four, will he be our, as they say, the sacred timeline Reed Richards, the 616 Reed Richards?
That's what's so interesting. I mean, we just had our cast talking about that on possibly him directing and what that would mean if he's not. Like if what came to be of him being in this movie, like what's that going to mean going forward when we actually meet the cast of Fantastic Four? Because that's exactly what like I was laying out was if they show John Krasinski in the suit, anyone that's not him going forward is going to be seen as a disappointment, at least for like a good chunk of the fans. So it's a bold play, and I feel like my initial shock of seeing him on screen, I'm like, oh my god, it actually happened. And then as the dust settled, it's like, oh my gosh, what are they actually gonna do now? Because he looked so good in the role. Like, it's one thing to just be like, oh nice, it's John Krasinski as
John Cena. John Cena. Imagine that. They're like, we've casted John as Reed Richards. Everyone, like,
No,
yes,
Sue
I can't
Storm
wait.
is the Invisible Woman, and John Cena is the Invisible Man. What is his name?
You can't see him. That's what it is. You
Right,
can't see
right,
him. Yeah.
But so yeah, like once the dust settled, it's like, man, like, or what? Oh yeah, that's what I'll say. Is like, he looked so good in the role. Like, it's one thing to have John Krasinski in the role, but he doesn't really look like Reed Richards. It's just to like fit that checkbox of, okay, look at that, they put John Krasinski in the role, but fuck, you looked good. So now it's like, they better have someone him or better going forward, and that's a tough task. And I think what makes it even more stressful, at least for like the movie makers, on who they're gonna have for that, is like, Fantastic Four is an established franchise, like in the Marvel universe. Like, a lot of people really love the Fantastic Four, and
Just had some bad luck on the film side.
yeah, and it's
They didn't
like,
have Feige.
yeah, it's a big thing to fill those shoes. But yeah, it's gonna be weird going forward. I mean, I talked longer on our newscast talking about the what if scenario with John Krasinski and that, so go check that out for more of my thoughts. But
And
That could be
I
a
don't
what
think-
if episode. What if John Krasinski directed Fantastic Four?
it's like a real inside baseball
behind the
episode.
scenes,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing where I don't think it'll be this Monday because the movie's still out, but I could see the following Monday them putting a press release, even if it's just to like, there's gonna at some point soon with Thor: Love and Thunder, they're gonna do press again. Feige's gonna be asked, is he playing the same way? Remember, people asked about Daredevil, and before No Way Home, Feige was like, if you ever see Daredevil in the MCU, he'll be played by Charlie Cox. And then it was like, oh look, a week later, Charlie Cox is in the MCU. I could see 2 weeks from now being like, if you ever see Reed Richards again, it will be Krasinski. Like, again, I don't think you can do it this Monday because people will automatically kind of spoil it. But
Yeah.
Taylor Field, what were your thoughts on? Do you think if we see whenever we see Reed Richards, will it be him again?
There's no doubt in my mind that it's
No
gonna
doubt.
be, that it'll be Krasinski again reprising it. It just seems to be the only logical thing. You've now officially trained the GA to expect, even though he died, you expected them to think that he will be reprising his role because the movie had like 5 or 6 different Doctor Stranges, all played by Benedict.
Yes. And look at Loki. How many Lokis have we gone through
Exactly.
now? Exactly.
With the exception of Loki, I mean, we did see a few that were all the same, but we also got a heavy dose of Lokis that were different actors altogether. Some were playing older Loki, but then we see a whole bunch of other like ones that are all
Reptiles.
equivalent. and other
we got an
species,
alligator Loki. Yeah, that sets it
Yeah.
up right there.
It does.
We get an
So-
alligator Reed Richards for the Sacred Timeline,
There you
stretchy
go.
and
Oh,
everything.
God.
So I don't doubt it.
Well, we just got
whatsoever.
Ahmed in Moon.
Oh,
Man.
yeah,
The
there we go.
crocodile.
Loki
The
variant.
alligators are rising up, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt it at all. I think it'll happen, and I am more than willing to just let it happen. You know, I want to see it because he's just, again, I'm reiterating what I said already. He was so good as Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, and just the way he was speaking, I was just like caught in a trance listening to him talk, and just the words coming out of his mouth were just like fascinating, and he was just so on point, and just I was mystified. And again, his suit, I want to cosplay as this guy. He just put me into a bewilderment.
Wow. A big
Bewilderment.
big
Great
stamp
word
of
choices.
approval. Anything else on the Illuminati? Obviously, some of these situations will be followed up in the next year or so, I imagine.
Well, I'll just
Um,
quickly say that I don't feel like they overdid like I feel like there was just the right amount of cameos in this movie. For
Yes,
me.
I agree.
And like my I don't know if some people maybe were disappointed there wasn't more or certain characters, but my expectations were Xavier and Carter, and we got those two. Like my expectations were very low. I thought there'd be more than that, but those are the only two that I was like, man, if I don't see those, I don't know what this marketing like fooled me in some way.
Back in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm still like, when's Toby coming out here?
Yeah,
I didn't get that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my other, just a question was, because I thought after the trailer, where we saw a little bit of the Illuminati stuff, that we thought it was Doom bots that were going on there, but then they were saying Ultron. They said
They
were
are
Ultron
Ultron
a few
bots,
times.
yeah.
They're Ultron bots. Okay.
Yeah. Which is kind of a fun.
So what
full
does that
circle.
mean? Like, what are the implications of that? That the Ultron technology like didn't go awry, or
I think so, yeah. Where they
think
made
so,
it like
yeah.
whatever Tony planned for it to happen, it worked in that universe. And that's
Okay.
where lots of these rumors of, which didn't happen, but the rumors of the Tom Cruise playing Superior Iron Man started because people thought, oh, maybe he got the bots to work and stuff like that. Maybe it'll happen one day because people have still said that he apparently took a meeting with MCU and it was about that. But because clearly, which we're going to talk about soon here in the end credits, multiverse isn't closed. It's still fucking wide open. So
Yeah.
and this is just like they are leading to
It's
potentially
leaking
secret
at this
wars. Yeah, exactly. So the only thing I guess I forgot to mention too is Baron Mordo. I loved the dynamic of Strange calling him out of, you probably tricked him and you probably were a part of it. And the good thing is Mordo never like said it was true or never denied. He just almost got mad because he was being accused, and then they had a fight scene. And I like that even though this Illuminati and all these cameras going off and Wanda's popping off, I like that was coming down them. And they had like this cool 2-minute, there was lots of editing cuts, so that was a little unfortunate, but they had a cool like 2-minute fight scene in that like squared, really close together room. And again, that made me just hope that, okay, I hope this gets revisited again in the third movie with him coming back to be a main character, antagonist, whatever it is, because I like Chiwetel in that role. I really like him. And I also, he probably won't, but I wish he had the look, because the look was fucking badass. Like,
He looks so good in this. Like his dreads look badass, and just his outfit alone. Like he just
the
looked a little bit more
sword.
armored up.
Yeah.
The sword was sick. Yeah, he looked really, really good.
and I love, he's like, we will decide on this vote when everyone comes back. And Strange's like, they're not coming back. And he's like, well, I'm the deciding factor. And he just went to go kill him. And yeah, I really like that. Just lots of layers in that scene. And to shut it all the way back, our very first chat, he put it in the chat even before them because he's not seeing it yet, but I suppose I know you'll be listening to it after. Just join our Patreon, so thank you very much for that. You can go do that right now. He says he hasn't seen the movie yet, so I'll leave a question for me in the future. What did you think of Bruce Campbell's cameo? I hope he's actually in the movie, or else this doesn't work at all. So Bruce Campbell, obviously, he was the star of Evil Dead. He was in all Spider-Man movies. He's a go-to for Sam Raimi. He played on that first universe they go to, the hot dog stand guy and everything like that. Yeah, and he's the guy, you stole his merch and you went to the museum and stuff like that. I'm very happy because there was at one point Bruce Campbell, and he could have just been fucking with us, but he said he thought he might have been cut from the movie. And I just thought Feige, a true believer, would have made sure that Bruce Campbell, who was like Sam Raimi loyalty, like a royalty, was in this movie. And
Are
again,
they like brothers or something? What is the connection? Just
so they did the first Evil Dead together, and ever since then they've been like best friends. So they worked together on he's almost putting him in all his projects.
not
stuff
fake
like
best
that.
friends like Strange and Mordo, but like
No, real best friends, like Strange and
and-
Xavier. You remember
He's Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro.
yeah, or Jeff
Jeff
Keighley.
Keighley.
Yeah, exactly. So
Jeff Keighley. Yeah.
and that's where, again, it's like the Patrick Stewart thing where, am I a fan of comedic end credit scenes? No. But because it was Bruce Campbell, I was like, it's just a legacy thing. Again, he was in Spider-Man, so I liked the cameo for what it was. Was it a little silly that he's going to beat himself up for 3 weeks? Yeah, that's maybe some of the Sam Raimi cheesiness that doesn't work for me, but then it's Bruce Campbell, so I appreciated that it was in there. So you guys got anything to say on Bruce Campbell's cameo?
I the humor for that worked for me, and I don't know who that is. So yeah,
There you go.
It's all good.
You go.
Oh, you sure?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. I I really enjoyed seeing Bruce Campbell in there. I was waiting for it, but I wasn't holding my breath necessarily, just for the heck of it. But my theater was again super silent about it. Like a couple laughs at the joke, but I was expecting some people to be like, "Oh wow," like kind of like vocal about his appearance. It didn't clue in when the person started like asking like, "Hey, you got to pay for that." I thought they're just writing off a joke. And then once we got that, like the turnout shot, I was like, holy shit, yeah, it's him. And just the beating of himself and everything like that. And that being the end credits scene, like I thought that really, really hit home with me. But he's just such a funny character. And I love knowing that his variant exists in Tobey Maguire's universe, right? It's just, it's a funny concept to behold. So
Yeah, absolutely. I loved his cameo in this. I feel like I was just waiting for it. I figured it was going to be in there. And it was, and yeah, the comedy like with him was really good, but also just like America Chavez being like, "Oh no, you don't have to pay for things in most universes," and then like it just completely turns like, "Hey, you got to pay for that." that made me laugh. And then when he just gets all in his face and he's just like, "I'm gonna throw mustard," or what, like I don't remember what he says specifically, but he's like, "You're gonna get the mustard," and it's just like such a wild threat. I've never been threatened with a jar of mustard, fortunately, because I don't like mustard at all.
Not yet.
Not yet. But
He doesn't like mustard. Hear that, everybody, though. That's a good threat to get him with, you know.
But his usage was great, and I think the end credit scene, if it wasn't like him, it would have been like, oh my god, I wasted all that time for a comedic scene. But it worked for me, and then he drops the line, it's over, and then the whole theater was laughing. So
Yeah, my theater like that. Taylor's
Yeah.
theater is a bunch of prudes over there.
Yes.
Fuck.
should have heard the guy behind me.
Wasn't
in
even
this
a full
scene. He was
house.
going off.
Really?
Well, and then let's. So I'm gonna jump to because it wasn't in this section, but it was another cameo, and it is a big one for character wise and actress wise. So what we talked about earlier, I think it was a good setup. At one point, Christine pretty much just says like, you know, you can love somebody, you can love yourself. They're out there and stuff. Pretty much to me, setting up that one Christine, I don't think would be in Doctor Strange 3. I don't think there's much of a role for her anymore. I feel like it was her kind of them accepting this was never going to work. There's somebody out there for you. Go find her. Well, lo and behold, wouldn't you guess it, that his comic book wife just happens to show up. Clea, played by the fantastic, phenomenal Charlize Theron, who I'm mad at one point. I'm pretty sure I had her on my draft. I took her off, and but she's an actress that I just knew at some point Marvel or DC was gonna get her. She's just one of those. She's a bankable star. She's been around. She does everything, and yeah, if people don't know, she's a fellow sorcerer. She is like his main love interest. Clea is, and they talked a lot, and we're going to talk about obviously the eye thing, but she shows up. She talks about what you did caused an incursion, and I'm going to talk about it in a second as well. But Taylor, Phil, what do you feel about Charlize Theron joining the MCU as Clea? Obviously, you don't know her, but she's a very important character to his lineage. And
I just did a quick deep dive, so I
A quick deep dive.
like Matrix.
yeah, I, did
Just
I
I
uploaded
know
all the
karate.
data.
I know
Yeah.
Clea.
I'm super down for this character. I had no idea what was going to happen here, but as far as end credit scenes go, like this was super, super exciting just to kind of see the Dark Dimension and then to see her there. And again, knowing she becomes the love interest of Doctor Strange, knowing her history that I just downloaded now is just very fascinating. And
She's currently the Sorcerer Supreme as well, too, in the comic book. So she's up there with all of them in these worlds and stuff.
yeah,
so.
because she takes it after Doctor Strange, right?
Yes.
But I guess in this case, Doctor Strange doesn't even have it. It's Wong. So I'm wondering how that dynamic
She's gonna
works.
kill Wong.
And yeah, she's gonna kill Wong. This is interesting because like it from the comics perspective, it looks like he goes off to face Dormammu, and then she's just an observer and encounters him, and then betrays Dormammu. But now in this, it's like, okay, do they have a pre-existing kind of dynamic or relationship? Because he seems super calm about it. So I'm wondering what backstory already pre-exists here between these two characters. But again, I think she looked fan-frickin-tastic. She looked awesome. Again, I wasn't expecting her to. Like Charlize Theron to appear period in the MCU, but it was just super, super awesome. And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, like the cameos in the Illuminati, that's when I'm like, okay, I feel justified. Like, I'm happy with that. Hers at the end was like, oh, a nice little nugget, because it's like, this is for sure a new character. There was rumors. It was so funny that she had met with Marvel like last year, and then they went away, and they kind of came back, but it was one of these things that she took meetings. She even, at one point, was supposed to play like Wonder Woman's mom, and that fell through too. So she's been sniffing around. I think she was kind of like, I don't want to like be the mother role. I'd like to be like a main role. Not saying she's trying to get Wonder Woman, just like she's a big star, and I also just think like she's a great actress. She's somebody that whatever franchise or movie you add her to, that's instant talent, you know. So, Dilmas, how do you feel about Clea and Charlize being in the MCU now?
Yeah, well, quick question. So does she originate from Earth as well? Because I couldn't really tell if she's wearing a suit or if she's like an alien to some extent.
She's not an alien, no.
I thought she originated from the Dark Dimension, is what I downloaded.
Yeah, like I guess it's not Earth, but like it's like I'd say she's a human being. That's what I would say,
Okay.
you know, stuff like that. So
that's interesting. I'm curious to see that. Yeah, I mean, she's an amazing actress. I don't know anything about the character and her backstory, so I can't dig in too much. Great costume, great actress, so I'm excited. Hopefully, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like with setting that up with what you just said, like, when we finally get a Doctor Strange 3 at some point in the future, which I hope for.
6 years later.
Yeah, I can't imagine that not being a big deal and her becoming like a bigger character rather than like a small cameo. So I'm excited for it for sure. Sounds everything written out is what I'm down for. So let's do it.
I also thought we were going to see Dormammu again for a second, because when they opened that
Yeah.
up, I was like, oh boy. But I do like them kind of
You
getting.
again?
Yeah, I've come to bargain, but What about you, Kirkland? Why you happy about this or you hate it? You absolutely hate it. You're like, not my MCU.
Not my MCU. She's just stuck to DC.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
she's awesome. I really like her as an actress. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to just find out more about the character because my knowledge is just so limited. I love the design of her outfit with like the purple or pink and the white. Like it just looked really cool. I liked her blades that she used to just like slice through the universe, basically go to the dark dimension. I'm again just really excited to find out more with the character, which go to Eternals because I had the complete opposite. They showed up a new character at the end credit of that. It's just total shift, but yeah, she was just awesome. It's one of those actresses. It's like I can't believe she hasn't been in the MCU already.
Yeah,
she's just such a big name and very talented and very would just fit like in very many different things. You were talking about like Wonder Woman. Like it's very easy to place her in these different places. So it's very fitting.
Yeah, because she's an actress. She's not like boxed into one role her whole career. She's done drama. She's done rom-coms, comedies. Like she's in Fast and Furious. Like she can do it all and everything.
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development, there you go. Comedic chops, action chops, the whole shebang. So the only thing I was going to mention about this, which is very exciting, is they are talked about incursions a lot in this movie. And that is, if you don't know, it's when two universes are colliding and one Earth kind of has to die off so the other one can live. And I don't know if we did a comic book versions about this a little while back ago, but Taylor and Kirkland, do you remember? We didn't read it, but we read Avengers Disassembled and then House of M. Do you remember what we talked about was like the next arc that would come out after that in that timeline?
I imagine it's something about this. I don't
well,
remember.
the one we never did it, and we said, oh, one day we would. What follows that, and it's in the first issue of this comic book, is the New Avengers. So it's one of these things that New Avengers opens up with Black Panther and Wakanda seeing this, and there's an Earth crashing in. So them talking about incursions, we will get an Avengers film at some point, but I think this is even more starting to set up that like literally incursions is like a storyline from the very first issue of the New Avengers, and we're getting closer. We're meeting so many characters. Again, I go back and forth like if Strange would be a member of the Avengers, but still they're putting those seeds in there, and again, they don't have to. It doesn't have to follow that storyline, but it is something where it's like literally we just had House of M in this, where House of M was Wanda, breaking reality and going nuts. That's what happened here in Doctorverse, Multiverse of Madness, her kind of going nuts and breaking reality. So we're kind of following a similar, but they're not adapting it page by page, but they're following a similar kind of line and whatnot. So it's exciting time. So I don't know when we're going to see everybody again, but it's good stuff. So let's see. Anything else to shout out now overall? Go ahead.
Yeah, something I forgot to shout out when we were talking about Wanda. There was one specific scene when she takes over like the other Wanda, and then it's just a really like haunting scene of like just the darkness is creeping up on her. And then when Scarlet Witch Wanda actually takes over the body, there's like a very quick moment when she like actually looks at the camera, and it was just like it was almost like a fourth wall break, but like not really. It was just more just like scaring the viewer because it worked for me. I was just like, oh man, this is again like an Evil Dead moment where like, okay, the demon is in her right now. It was a very, very quick moment, but I really appreciated that they had that in the scene. They didn't have to at all. It could have just been her turning around with the red eyes and you would have known that it's the Scarlet Witch. But just the fact she's like turning and then just like lock eyes with the viewer, it was just a really interesting touch that I really appreciated. And there was another thing with like, I think Charles did something similar where he just like looks at the camera, but I think it's like in that transition mode when he goes to like the dream realm, that white scene that he's in. But the Wanda one was really bone chilling.
And then the pizza guy, he looks right into your soul and he says, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Another fourth wall break.
Is that a Sam Raimi thing? Does he do that a lot? People looking at cameras? I don't know.
Kind of very. Yeah, I think, I'd say it could be a trope. And not all his films, but some of them. So, yeah. I was going to say in the scene you were showing, Kirk, the other one I liked is when regular Wanda was walking around and they had the photo album or the photo frame and like looked at her and was following her. That was some great Resident Evil 7 type of shit and everything like that. So yeah, they were doing a good job of like trying to be as creepy as they can. And there was some person in that scene, I can't remember what it was, or some jump scare, their arms went up in front of me. They got like really, and it wasn't fake, because like the whole movie they were
Popcorn
fine. But
flies in the air.
yeah, it was like
Covered
I don't know, maybe a 13, 14-year-old girl, and she didn't scream, she wasn't anything, but it was just like she was not expecting some sort of scare coming. So I got a good laugh there. It was fun. So
And then just really quickly, I forgot to shout it out, but that scene with like the tentacle demon, with when Strange first meets America Chavez, just all in all, from start to finish, such a great just fight sequence. It was so good. I loved all the details of all, like just the CGI elements. Again, like in 3D, I wasn't like, oh my god, what is happening? Like I was able to see all the details. It looked really, really good. And I loved when he took out like the big hands and he grabs that huge pole and just pops the eyeball out. It was just, again, that's when he popped the eyeball. I'm like, oh my god, this is MC. Like this.
And
is
that
pushing the
sound
limits.
effect we got too. I was like, oh my god, this eyeball just popped out of its head. This is crazy, you know.
I wondered if those hands that he was using was from the guy from the Black Order, like the big guy that uses like the hammer, because he fought him, right? And he like he kept it, he like chopped his hand off, or maybe Wong did.
That
Like
was
he
Wong.
chopped his hand off
Yeah.
like a block from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
I'm
sanctum,
taking
so
these.
he could have grabbed that and studied it. I don't know.
That's how Wong got invited to Stark's wedding. Remember, you're invited to my wedding, Wong, and he flew
right.
off. Yeah. So, but no, those were the hands. So, anything else notes wise? A shout out.
Well, we got to talk about the eye and the ending with Strange and having this third eye.
Oh shit! Yeah. So yeah, he's walking
Because
around.
this is what I need, like the Doctor Strange ending explained, because I don't know what's going on there. We got two separate scenes that are maybe the same scene at different moments. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, let's take our last ad break, because we'll do this and probably get our final thoughts and a rating. So we'll be right back. Let's talk about some eyes. And we're back talking about the eyes. So yeah, what I took from it, which this is a classic samurai, like ending on a cliffhanger, scary note. But what I took from it is that evil Strange in the house or whatever in his Sanctum Sanctorum said, if you use the dark hole, use the dark magic, it can't affect you. So that's what I took from it. What I did not like was he's walking, the eye happens, and I thought, oh fuck, Strange is in some dire straits. Like this is really bad. And then the end credit scene, which I like, we got Clea, like we got Charlize. I didn't like that. It was just like, oh hey, like I'm fine. And then like the eye was just there. I thought they actually probably could have. I think the ending was effective, but I think the post-credit scene kind of killed a little bit for me. But I guess they're just trying to say that Strange has this dark power that he could use, which actually happens to help him take down an incursion in one of those books I was talking about. But I think that's what it is, that he doing some dark magic, he got some darkness in him. That's how I took it.
So when he breaks down in the street, when he first kind of loses control, and then the eye pops up, and then that other scene you're saying is like either in like he just keeps walking on the street and then that happens, or it's like a week later.
I think it's a week later because he's wearing something else. He has like a scarf and a different clothing. So I think it's a week. Whenever it is, he's like learned to absorb this power or something. So
because the other thing that I maybe thought it was that, our Doctor Strange, 616 Doctor Strange, gets the eye and he's kind of fucked up in some way. And then when we get the post-credit scene with him and Clea, that she came to was talking to a different Doctor Strange from a different area, because like I think Taylor mentioned that it seemed like they were kind of familiar with each other, like they had met before based on like their dialogue. I don't know. There was something. I'd have to watch it again, but I thought like maybe she was going to get this other Doctor Strange to go fight the incursion. So I am a little confused. I need I don't know. I gotta watch it again, perhaps.
And Clay's saying, and this is where it is different, because he said the third eye, and the third eye is not dark power in the comics. Third eye shows as the only pure of heart can use, which could be the case, but like I don't think that's what they're doing here, because like that evil Doctor Strange had the third eye, and then to me it was like a super painful thing, and I hope they don't use it too much, because I don't like necessarily like the effect, to be honest, when he's like, I'm ready for anything, and like his third eye pops up and then they jump. It's just all right. It's like I don't need it to stick around too much.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be distracting going forward, and it seems like it's not just a temporary thing. So, am I going to just be seeing Benedict with his third eye now?
No, I think they'll just use. I think they'll use it like in battles or sparingly. I don't actually think he'll be rocking the third eye.
He's
The
staring
majority
at
of the film.
Clea. He's like, "Whoa,
Yeah,
you opened my third eye."
She's like, I see your third eye. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Puts that away. Yeah. He puts his cap back
He has
on.
special sunglasses that have like a little triangle on them.
Taylor, any thoughts on the eye, the end, everything like that?
I'm always down for some sixth chakra kind of stuff, and we got it. So when it comes to this, I was just reading a little bit more about it, and again, the assumption is that the Darkhold is the sinister cause for this. But then I'm reading about parts in the comics that are talking about how using the Eye of Agamotto is a result of somehow getting your third eye. Even
Yeah.
But
But
I
again-
like that kind of imagery at least as well. Of him having the eye of Agamotto and then having an actual third eye.
But again,
not-
like I've said before, the comics are just like a adaptation, right? We just had Moon Knight where they changed a whole bunch of shit and none of it's in the comics. That's where it's like it helps, but if they want, hey, we want this third eye to be something bad, well, it's something bad now, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if it is bad, then sure, run with it. I don't necessarily see it as being bad. 'Cause
No.
all I see is just mostly positive. It's just like a point in this character's journey of reaching this power, and he just unlocks it, and it's just going to enable him to access more different things while he's out exploring the multiverse, I guess. So I'm game for it. I definitely was a little trying to like get used to it on the bad Doctor Strange, but after a while it just kind of like sunk in and I was just all on board for it. And that's kind of symbolism I'm not like terrified of or like freaked out and like unaccustomed to. My family is very much into the third eye kind of thing, so I've
Got a couple third eyes running around the field household.
I keep mine turned off when I'm around you guys, so
Yeah. Keep that third arm down too.
Well, don't you have to use like the
I've seen
evil
it
book to
staring
get
at
the
me.
eye? Maybe we should be concerned about your
Yeah,
family
we
using
should
the
no,
be.
evil
I
book.
got my Eye of Agamotto. I
Oh
use.
my God, you were rocking that the whole time?
I wore it to the
Oh,
theater.
shit.
Yeah.
Is that thing heavy?
No.
Like on your neck? You don't feel it on your neck, like the wire or anything?
No. Oh, I mean, I can feel there's a wire there. I can feel it on my neck, but I mean, it's definitely not weightiest for having a battery in there.
It was bold that you went to the
Weightiest.
theater with it. You know, someone could have stolen.
There was a guy cosplaying as Doctor Strange at my theater.
That's sick. That's so cool.
He had the cape and the blue garb and everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Anything else specific?
Okay, very quickly, my last thing is just the imagery of the watch coming up time and again. Travis, you mentioned how he fixes it at the end. I also love that camera shot from inside and you're seeing the clockwork. But just like, once again, that scene is weird where they're going through the memories, but seeing like where he gets this watch from, and it's kind of in this recurring theme, him using it as a lock to go into that room
That
and
was
trying
cool.
to think of what it was. And I also like that Christine is one that kind of thought of that idea and handed him the watch. So, and like obviously he messes a lot with time, and he doesn't have the Eye of Agamotto, the Time Stone anymore. But so I like that the watch kind of calls back to him using that in the past. So I liked all that stuff.
That was a cool scene when he had to come up with that way of opening that door, right? And he did his like eye opening the Eye of Agamotto motion, and the eye opened up on his necklace. Like his necklace opened up too when he was trying to open the door. Just a fun little thing.
Also, I think I forgot to shut this up, but when he fixed the watch, he didn't put it back on, right? He put it in a drawer.
Put it
and
away.
closed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that to me was another sign of like, okay, Christine and him are
Right.
That's
Good
he's
point.
moving on, you know. So
Yeah, like
It's-
he's repaired that relationship
Yes.
or in his heart, whatever it is, and you can.
it's
move on,
it's
yeah.
there.
Got
that
room for more watches, for many more
true.
ruined relationships.
next Doctor Strange, his cabinet's just flowing with watches. He's like, I can't find the right woman, Clea. He's like, I'm here the whole
It's
time.
gonna have like 6 eyes by that point.
One scene I want to point out is the initial jumping through the multiverse, I guess, and we got
Yes.
several sequences.
Yeah.
Now I need to rewatch that on slow-mo because I swear I saw the Spider Noir timeline. I swear I saw Miles Morales' like Sony verse like timeline. There's a brief moment where it looked very much like the same cityscape. Again, we saw the animated version in there too, something
Yeah.
else, but
Was that
there
like
were
Superman too? It looked like Superman.
It felt like Superman a little
the,
bit.
the red cape and everything.
That would be wild.
in the
There's-
cartoon universe.
There's a lot of stuff in there that pausing that I'm excited for some YouTuber to break down for me.
Yeah.
Like this is this is
Yes.
that, because like again too, like I doubt that's the exact one for Miles because of rights reason, but to do some sort of one like that, I want to know like with the like I guess you're right about Spider-Man Noir, kind of like that black and white one, but it had like an evil
film
cackling
grade.
like laugh to it. So yeah, it's Clay, did you say? I'm pretty sure Mustafar was in there. Fuck, are we getting close to that Star Wars Marvel? Come on, we got multiverse.
it
I'm
was-
waiting for it.
I thought
That's
when America Chavez was like beating on Wanda, and then it goes like that lava planet. I'm like, oh my god, Mustafar's right there. You can
She has
see
the high
Hayden
ground.
Christensen burning up in the back.
I'm telling you, I want one what if where a fucking portal opens and Darth Vader walks through and we're on. It doesn't have to be live action, but animated. Come on.
Isn't that an issue you have with what is it, Winter Soldier, when he's like checking off? I gotta watch Star Wars, knowing that like
Yeah, that's why I don't like it, because
yeah.
the film shouldn't be in the universe. I don't want it's stopping my crossover potential. But no,
Yeah.
it's all for fun. But no, that was cool. I actually really like the universe where they're like just gel liquid people. I don't know how that would work.
The paint, yeah.
Yeah, but it just looks very pleasing aesthetic. I just want to like roll in it, you know. I don't know if that's paint for sure. It looks like some goop, like flubber, like they're flubber people.
flubber,
Robin Williams
yeah.
Frubble. Yeah.
Splatoon. That's the Splatoon.
Yeah,
world.
that's
I
what it
like
looks
her.
like.
I like her comment too. It's like hard to eat. Hard to eat there.
Yeah. Well, I'll go first because I don't know, maybe I got the lowest score. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. The reason is I really enjoyed it. It's in my I've a bunch of tiers. There's like the S tier, which is like my top 5 for MCU, and then there's like the 6 to 10 that's like my A really good tier. This is in that 11 to 15 where this is a great time. I have had, some issues where they could be helped later on depending on future installments or watching this again, but I still think there's some clunkiness, there's some messiness. I still think there's some things they could have done a little better with Wanda, especially because Michael Waldron, I think he did such a good job with Sylvie and Loki. Like he did such a good job of really making her feel like an antagonist but completely understanding her. So I kind of felt they took a little easy way outs with Wanda a little bit, but I had a hell of a time. I think this is one definitely for Halloween. It's going to be a watch, but this is in that Marvel category where I compared to Thor Ragnarok where I have problems with it, but when I want a good time, I'm just going to put on. This has that like I just want to have like put it on for 2 hours and just watch it. And it's one of those that I feel like you could easily tune in and out of. There's just so much cool shit. And again, I had some problems. I think it's mostly scripting. I really want Sam Raimi to do the third one. I really want to keep with this tone. I loved so much of it because, there's some moments that didn't completely hit with me. It's not an all-time or one of the best MCU films, but damn, it's just a hell of a good time, and I absolutely loved majority of it. So 8 out of 10 for me. That's where I'm at.
Cool. I'll go next. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. I think leaving the theater, I was under the impression I was gonna give it a 10 out of 10 because I fucking loved it. But as we're discussing certain things, especially motivation wise, was like the villain Wanda. I think there was just room for improvement, and then definitely like the Patrick Stewart just dismantling of Charles Xavier, that was hard. It was just so quick. But all in all, I loved it. I think the character performances were stellar. The cameos were super, super fun. And it was just going into that vein of feeling like a horror movie, which hasn't really been felt in the MCU before. So that was really, really fun. And just visually absolutely fantastic. And as I've said so many times, I was like so impressed that like the 3D didn't like take me out of it, because like the first shot of America Chavez and that other Strange running, it was like actually blurry at first. I'm like, oh no, what am I in for? This is gonna be the whole movie. I'm gonna have to go see this again like tomorrow.
Where's my
to
third
even
eye?
understand what's going on. But I don't know if it's just my eyes like settled in, but I was really able to follow it from that point on. And what like a visually pleasing movie. It was just so wild and very, very good. I love this movie, but had some issues, but all in all, definitely a phenomenal film. So 9 out of 10.
Yeah, for me the issues are so minuscule that I really this is going to be one of my favorites. I'm excited to remake my MCU ranking now that I've seen a few more things. I think this is going to be very, very high is my prediction. It's something different for the MCU. I just love those horror vibes, but so much to it. I love it. This was a lot of fun to really break it all down with you guys, and can't wait for more Doctor Strange, for more America, for more. We're seeing Clea, Clea. I'm sorry, that name. It's really messing with me.
Clea.
But there's a lot here that I'm excited to see more in the future. But even just as standalone movie, fucking loved it so much.
Taylor Field.
Yeah, this movie was just, it had me giddy. It had me, I shed a couple tears at some moments too. Like there were just some scenes that were just fantastic, and you guys said it all. The cameos, the score, just the choreography alone was just fantastic, and I am just super jazzed to see where we go from here. But everything all in all was just so good and hype and exciting, and I just was not disappointed. I'm glad that the trailer didn't give much away in terms of what to expect, because I was just caught off guard in so many different aspects, and this movie for me will sit at a high 9.5 out of 10. Again, it's not
That's not what I was expecting. I was expecting the big old 10 there, the way you're talking
Same.
about.
No, it's honestly, like,
Where's
I'm with
that
you,
0.5?
Kirklin. Like, we're talking, and there are things that you guys pinpointed that are a little bit out of place. Like, as much as I did love Wanda, there is the kind of trajectory that she took in her development throughout this in retrospect now after we've talked, that I do kind of see maybe there's a little bit of like rough around the edges as we kind of went through it, and a couple other things too, like this one random sorcerer, I guess, just kind of appearing with Wong and just stabbing the Darkhold, and boom, that's the end of that kind of plot with the Darkhold copy being but all of a sudden, like,
They were getting it on, right? I felt like they were trying to insinuate they were
Maybe.
getting it on.
Definitely.
Yeah, there was a
All
lot
of-
of cheek caressing going on.
Yeah.
there was cheek caressing. Then all of a sudden after that, Wanda's like, oh, tell me where I can find the Darkhold
Yeah.
Wong. And then all of a sudden she just pulls out 5 fucking hostages still alive to torture to convince Wong. There's just little things like that, but it's not a huge problem.
Yeah.
One of them was the fucking first one that like broke the wall. Like he was like the reason why.
Yeah.
Kind of like stoner looking dude.
Yeah.
The guy who
First
was like
day.
just in Nepal on like his, enlightenment
Yeah.
journey,
Trying
and
to
then he
find
kind of
himself.
stumbled into this place.
Cut to 10 days later, the Scarlet Witch is coming. The Scarlet Witch is coming. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, all
I'm
right.
ready.
Yeah.
Taylor,
Yeah.
how much of your 9.5 is because there was a dinosaur in this movie?
Oh fuck, that was at least
Like a
like
full
4
point,
points.
half a
No.
point?
Oh, yeah. No, that was definitely a pleasant surprise to see that dimension. That was super cool. Another big thing too is just no Ghost Rider. That's at least like
Oh,
a quarter
God.
of the 0.5 right
That's
there.
not fair
so.
at all. That's not fair at all.
They
I was
never
under the
promised
impression he
anything.
was in here. You know, they canceled the
No.
Ghost Rider TV show, but no.
Oh yeah, those dinosaurs, Taylor. Just wait till we get. Finally, I know what's gonna. You've always been like anti-X-Men. When we get to X-Men, they get to the Savage Land, a land where mutants and dinosaurs and creatures live. You're gonna be all about the X-Men. Some people think
Sign me up.
Some people think that Dinosaur Land is the Savage Land, so you never know. But yeah, that does it for this review. If you're a big MCU fan, we'll be back. I guess next month will be Miss Marvel, so we'll be reviewing that, and then the month after that, which honestly, I liked. Like, people are gonna call me a hypocrite. I thought it was a fine teaser, but not seeing the Thor teaser in a theater. I got like seeing her catch Mjolnir. I got fucking hyped. I was like, I want this movie right now. So we'll be doing that, and
Big screen of Thor just fucking leaning in. I
yes,
couldn't hold it in.
So
Oh.
It
good.
was good. I actually
Yeah.
hadn't watched the trailer yet, so it was a fun time to watch it on the big screen.
Oh yeah, no, I can't wait. So that's gonna be the next MC movie, and that's the best thing, because like that's why I love the MC. It takes some of myself. Like, I was a little disappointed in Moon Knight, and then literally 3 days later, man, just had a fucking rock and roll time. So we hope you had a rock and roll time. Let us know in the comments down below, whether on YouTube, join our Discord, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you listen. Let us know what you thought about our review. Bring anything else up, and yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. And I promise when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.
See ya.
Peace.